Train bridges have always held a special alerts, suspenseful, dangerous, and sometimes tragic. Across the United States, many of these bridges are said to be haunted by the spirits of workers, travelers, and victims of accidents long ago. From flickering lights on abandoned spans, to ghostly figures crossing the tracks at night, and unexplained sounds echoing through the steel beams. These bridges are more than just infrastructure, they are gateways to the past. Tonight, we cross into darkness as we explore 25 of the most haunted train bridges across the U.S., where history, tragedy, and the supernatural converge. Shelby Bridge, an aging structure spanning a quiet Ohio river, has long been a focal point of local lore, shrouded in mystery and unsettling tales. While it appears ordinary during the day, residents and occasional visitors insist that nightfall brings a different presence entirely. For decades, people have reported phantom figures walking along the rails, lights flickering beneath the bridge with no source, and voices carried by the wind that seem almost human, yet impossible to locate. The bridge's reputation for eerie encounters has made it both feared and strangely magnetic to those drawn to the unknown. The bridge itself is a sturdy steel truss construction, weathered by years of exposure to the elements. Its rusty rails and creaking beams create an ominous atmosphere that only intensifies after sunset. Locals say that even when the wind is calm, the bridge seems to hum, a low vibration that travels along its supports. Some believe this vibration is merely structural, a response to the river below. But those who have spent time on the bridge at night describe a different kind of resonance, one that carries with it whispers and the sense of being watched. One recurring story involves shadowy figures seen pacing along the bridge rails. Witnesses describe the figures as translucent and human-shaped, often dressed in outdated clothing from decades past. Some appear to wear work clothes reminiscent of early railroad employees, while others are indistinct, their forms melting into the night. Many have attempted to approach these figures, only to find them vanish into the darkness without a trace. A local fisherman, who frequently visits the riverbank beneath the bridge, recounted seeing a figure walk across the rails on a foggy evening. It was like watching a memory play itself out, he said. I could see him, clearly moving from one end to the other. And then he simply disappeared as I tried to get closer. Adding to the unsettling nature of the bridge are the unexplained lights that appear beneath it. Observers often report seeing small, flickering orbs or streaks of illumination dancing along the water's surface or on the underside of the bridge. These lights do not correspond to any known electrical source or passing vehicles, and attempts to film or photograph them frequently fail, showing only static or empty darkness. Some theories suggest they are manifestations of residual energy, echoes of past lives, and events that occurred near or on the bridge, while others consider them more malevolent, perhaps warnings to those who linger too long. Whispers carried by the wind are another common phenomenon. People on the bridge at night describe faint voices, sometimes calling names or murmuring indistinct phrases. The whispers seem to drift from random directions, often growing louder as one tries to pinpoint their source, only to vanish when approached. Several joggers and nighttime travelers have reported the unsettling sensation of someone walking just behind them, accompanied by the softest murmurs, yet turning around reveals nothing. The experience leaves a lingering impression, a combination of unease and fascination that keeps the bridge alive in local storytelling. Paranormal investigators have been drawn to Shelby Bridge over the years, documenting experiences that defy conventional explanation, using audio recording devices, thermal cameras, and EMF detectors. Some have captured anomalies consistent with eyewitness accounts. Audio recordings often pick up faint whispers and indistinct footsteps, even when the bridge is empty. Thermal imaging sometimes reveals cold anomalies along the walkways or unexpected movements in areas devoid of physical presence. Despite these attempts at capturing proof, the phenomena remain elusive, manifesting in ways that are difficult to predict or quantify. Historical research into the bridge has added layers to its eerie reputation. Constructed in the early 1900s as part of a regional rail line, the bridge has been witness to numerous accidents, including falls from the structure, train derailments, and other tragedies that left an impression on local memory. Some believe the spirits of those who died there continue to linger, replaying moments of their final walks across the bridge or attempting to warn others of the dangers. The combination of real-life tragedy and folklore has cemented Shelby Bridge as a place of haunting and fascination. Even casual visitors report strange sensations. People crossing the bridge at night sometimes experience sudden chills, inexplicable anxiety, or a profound feeling of being watched. Some describe the sensation as a pressure against their shoulders or an icy touch on their arms. Although they see no one nearby, these experiences are often accompanied by subtle sounds, the creak of metal, the rush of the river below, and, most disturbingly, faint, human-like footsteps that echo even in the absence of other people. Local storytellers often recount encounters where vehicles traveling near the bridge have lights flickering or engines stalling, attributing these events to the bridge's restless presence. Others report glimpses of figures standing near the guardrails, appearing momentarily before vanishing into thin air. The bridge, in many ways, is a liminal space, a threshold between the ordinary world and something that exists beyond human perception. Its combination of structural isolation, historical tragedy, and repeated paranormal sightings creates a unique atmosphere that captures the imagination. Despite warnings, Shelby Bridge continues to draw curiosity seekers, photographers, and paranormal enthusiasts. Some venture there to test their courage, others to document strange phenomena, and a few, drawn inexplicably, simply to experience the presence that locals insist is palpable. Every visit seems to add to the collective memory of the bridge, reinforcing its reputation as a site where the past and present coexist in shadows, whispers, and flickering lights. For those who encounter it, Shelby Bridge is more than an old structure crossing a river. It is a corridor of memories, spectral figures, and unexplained phenomena. The shadowy silhouettes pacing the rails, the flickering lights beneath the bridge, and the whispers drifting on the wind all contribute to an environment that is as unnerving as it is fascinating. Shelby Bridge is a reminder that even the most ordinary of places can harbor mysteries, and that some presences linger long after the living have gone. Its haunting persists, invisible yet undeniable, waiting silently for the next visitor brave enough to cross its rails. High Bridge in Kentucky, an engineering marvel stretching across the Kentucky River, has long been admired for its towering steel structure and breathtaking views. Yet, beneath its impressive exterior lies a story that has unsettled locals and visitors alike for decades. The bridge is said to be haunted by the spirit of a worker who tragically fell during its construction, leaving an enduring mark on the structure and those who traverse it. Accounts of ghostly apparitions and phantom footsteps have made High Bridge a focal point for tales of the supernatural, drawing both skeptics and thrill-seekers to its steel tracks and riverbanks. The bridge's history dates back to the late 19th century, when construction crews undertook the challenging task of connecting the two sides of the river. It was a dangerous endeavor, with workers suspended high above the rushing waters below, exposed to the elements and the risks of early industrial equipment. According to local records, one worker lost his footing while installing support beams and plummeted to the river. Despite efforts to recover him, he was never found, and stories soon spread that his spirit had lingered, tethered to the bridge he helped build. Over the years, these accounts have grown, blending historical fact with eerie folklore. Visitors today report seeing ghostly figures on the tracks, particularly near the sections of the bridge where the original accident occurred. Some describe a man in old-fashioned work clothes, standing silently or pacing along the rails. The apparition is often fleeting, vanishing when approached, leaving behind only the sensation that someone has been there moments before. Witnesses frequently recount a heavy chill in the air as they observe the figure, a cold spot that seems to defy natural explanation. Even during warm summer evenings, this sudden drop in temperature unsettles those who come close to the apparition. Phantom footsteps are another commonly reported phenomenon. Many who have walked along the bridge at night claim to hear the sound of boots striking the wooden ties or steel rails, echoing over the river below. The rhythm of these footsteps is erratic, sometimes matching the pace of a brisk walk, other times a slow, deliberate march. Several visitors have stopped in their tracks, turning to see who is following them, only to find the bridge completely empty. The sound lingers, reverberating across the structure and the water, before fading into silence. For some, it is an unmistakable echo of the worker who never made it to the riverbank alive. In addition to visual and auditory encounters, some have reported other unsettling sensations while crossing High Bridge. Witnesses describe sudden vertigo, a sense of being watched, or inexplicable unease while standing near the center of the span. Objects left on the bridge, such as hats or gloves, are sometimes found displaced, as if moved by an unseen hand. These subtle but persistent anomalies contribute to the bridge's reputation as a haunted site, and they reinforce the idea that the spirit of the fallen worker continues to linger. Paranormal investigators have long been intrigued by High Bridge, using audio equipment, thermal cameras, and EMF detectors. They have attempted to capture evidence of supernatural activity. Recordings often pick up faint, unexplained sounds, footsteps, soft murmurs, and the distant creak of metal. Thermal imaging occasionally reveals cold spots along the tracks or indistinct human-shaped figures where no one is present. While skeptics argue these readings can be explained by environmental factors, many investigators insist that the consistency of eyewitness accounts over the decades points to something beyond ordinary explanation. Historical context adds depth to the haunting. During the bridge's construction, safety standards were minimal, and accidents were tragically common. The story of the worker who fell became emblematic of these dangers, and locals believe his spirit remains to remind others of the perilous past. Over time, the tales of his apparition merged with other reports of odd occurrences, creating a collective memory that spans generations. The bridge has become a place where history and folklore intersect, its steel beams holding not only trains but lingering energies of those who suffered there. Some visitors have shared particularly chilling encounters. One evening, a group of hikers crossing the bridge reported seeing a man in a dusty uniform standing near the edge of the rails. As they approached to ask if he needed help, he turned, revealing a pale, indistinct face, and then dissolved into mist. Moments later, the sound of heavy boots echoed across the wooden ties, though no one else was present. Another witness described seeing the figure reaching out toward the river before vanishing, leaving an icy wind that swept across the span. Despite the fear it instills, High Bridge continues to draw curiosity seekers, ghost hunters, thrill seekers, and locals fascinated by the supernatural come to experience its haunted presence. Many report that even after repeated visits, the bridge never feels entirely predictable. Apparitions may appear on some nights and not others. Footsteps may echo differently each time, and the heavy chill that accompanies sightings can linger long after leaving the site. This unpredictability only heightens the sense of mystery surrounding the bridge. High Bridge stands as more than just a feat of engineering. It is a monument to both human endeavor and human tragedy. The phantom worker, pacing the tracks and leaving behind echoes of his final moments, connects visitors to a history that is tangible yet elusive. His presence, whether interpreted as residual energy or conscious spirit, reminds those who cross the bridge that some stories endure, carried across steel rails and whispering winds. The chilling footsteps, fleeting apparitions, and sudden drops in temperature create an atmosphere that is undeniably eerie, yet deeply compelling, ensuring that High Bridge remains a place where the past continues to walk alongside the present. For those who experience it firsthand, High Bridge is an unforgettable encounter with the unknown. The ghostly worker, the echoing footsteps, and the pervasive sense of history and tragedy combine to form a haunting tableau that has captivated imaginations for generations. Whether a skeptic or a believer, visitors leave with an undeniable impression. This bridge is alive with the echoes of its past, and some presences never truly leave. The Steelton Trestle in Pennsylvania, an imposing structure of steel beams and weathered timber, has long been the subject of local legend and ghostly tales. Spanning a quiet valley, the trestle was once a vital part of the region's industrial rail system. carrying trains laden with coal, steel, and manufactured goods. Its towering presence made it a symbol of progress. Yet its abandonment has given rise to eerie stories that continue to draw the curious, thrill-seekers, and paranormal enthusiasts alike. Today, witnesses report shadowy figures, flickering lights, and strange sounds that seem to belong to a bygone era, creating an atmosphere that is both haunting and compelling. The trestle's history dates back over a century. Constructed in the early 1900s, it was a hub of activity during Pennsylvania's industrial boom. Workers labored high above the valley floor, maintaining the rails and ensuring the steady flow of goods. Yet the trestle was not without tragedy. Accidents were common, with workers falling or being struck by trains, and machinery failures occasionally claimed lives. Over time, as rail traffic declined and industry shifted, the trestle fell into disuse. The trains stopped running, the whistles fell silent, and the once thriving structure became a skeletal reminder of an industrious past. Today, those who visit the Stilton Trestle after dark often report unsettling phenomena. Shadowy figures have been seen leaning over railings, standing motionless in the moonlight, or moving slowly along the beams. Witnesses describe these apparitions as indistinct but human-shaped, often appearing dressed in work clothes reminiscent of early 20th century laborers. When approached, the figures vanish as if dissolving into the night air. Some claim the presence of these phantoms is accompanied by a profound sense of being watched, as though the spirits are observing intruders on their old domain. Flickering lights are another common occurrence on the trestle. Many visitors report seeing brief, inexplicable glows among the steel beams, sometimes bright enough to illuminate a section of the walkway. Other times barely noticeable, like a distant lantern swinging in the wind. These lights often appear at random intervals, fading as quickly as they appear, and seem to move along the trestle in ways that defy explanation. Paranormal investigators have suggested that these manifestations may be residual energy, echoes of lanterns, and signals used by workers and train engineers decades ago, preserved in the environment like a haunting memory. Unexplained sounds are a hallmark of Stilton Trestle's ghostly reputation. Walkers often hear the grinding and clanging of machinery that has long been dismantled, the whistle of an approaching train that never arrives, and the creak of wooden ties under phantom footsteps. Some visitors report the rhythmic thumping of old iron wheels against rails, even in the absence of any trains. Others recount hearing muffled voices, calling names or shouting warnings, echoing across the valley, as though workers from the past are communicating across time. These auditory phenomena create an immersive, almost cinematic experience that both fascinates and terrifies those who hear them. Witnesses have shared a variety of personal encounters. One visitor described leaning over the railing and feeling a sudden cold breeze brush past, even though the night was warm and still. Moments later, they saw a shadowy figure standing on the opposite side of the trestle, motionless and silent, only to vanish when called out to. Another recounted hearing the rhythmic pounding of what sounded like a train crossing the trestle, followed by the distinct squeal of brakes. Yet no trains had passed for decades. The experience left the visitors shaken, convinced that the past lingered in tangible ways at the site. Paranormal investigators have flocked to Stilton Trestle to document these phenomena. Using audio recorders, thermal cameras, and EMF detectors, they attempt to capture evidence of the unexplained. Recordings frequently pick up faint, metallic clanging, footsteps, or whispers that cannot be attributed to nearby roads or wildlife. Thermal imaging sometimes reveals cold spots along the wooden planks or hazy, human-like shapes in areas that should be empty, while skeptics argue that natural causes, such as wind, settling wood, or animals may account for some of the phenomena. The consistency of reports over decades suggests a presence that is persistent and deliberate. Local lore adds depth to the trestle's haunted reputation. Stories abound of workers who fell to their deaths, machinery operators who vanished, and entire crews whose spirits allegedly linger among the beams. The trestle is seen not just as a relic of industry, but as a vessel of memory, holding the echoes of those who labored and sometimes died upon it. This historical context intertwines with the ghost stories, giving credence to the experiences reported by visitors. The trestle's isolation, coupled with its imposing height and labyrinthine structure, amplifies the eeriness, creating an environment where the line between reality and imagination becomes blurred. Despite its abandoned state, Stilton Trestle continues to attract explorers and thrill seekers. The allure of witnessing something supernatural draws people to its creaking walkways and rusting steel beams. Many report that the trestle feels alive at night, charged with an energy that is both heavy and hypnotic. Apparitions may appear in some areas and not others. Sounds seem to follow some visitors but not others. And flickering lights appear in different sections unpredictably, making every visit a unique encounter. For those who have experienced a trestle's ghostly presence, it is more than just a structure. It is a bridge between past and present. The shadowy figures, the phantom machinery, and the flickering lights evoke the lives and labors of people long gone, preserved in haunting echoes that refuse to fade. Stilton Trestle remains a testament to Pennsylvania's industrial history and a stage for the unknown, where memories of work, tragedy, and life itself linger in spectral form. The combination of historical resonance, eerie visuals, and unexplained sounds ensures that Stilton Trestle remains a place where the past is never truly gone, and the spirits of the industrial era continue to watch, whisper, and haunt. Cedar Creek Bridge in West Virginia has long been the subject of local lore, whispered stories, and ghostly legends. Stretching over a misty creek and surrounded by dense forests, the old railway bridge was once a vital link in the state's rail system, carrying locomotives laden with timber, coal, and passengers through the rugged terrain. Today, abandoned and rusting, the bridge has become a magnet for those drawn to the paranormal. Visitors report hearing phantom trains roaring across the bridge, seeing figures dressed in early 20th century railroad uniforms, and even hearing voices crying out in the fog. The bridge's eerie atmosphere, combined with its history, makes it a place where the past feels not only remembered, but alive in spectral form. The bridge dates back over a century, built in the late 1800s to support the expansion of West Virginia's railway network. It served as a crucial passage for commerce and travel, connecting small towns and facilitating the transport of natural resources. For decades, trains thundered over its wooden and steel spans, the rhythmic clatter of wheels a familiar sound to those living nearby. However, accidents were frequent. Workers fell from the tracks, locomotives derailed, and countless people perished during the bridge's operational years. When the railway eventually fell into disuse, the bridge was abandoned, left to decay amidst the creeping fog of the surrounding valleys. Locals have long claimed that the bridge retains the presence of the people who once worked there. Phantom trains are perhaps the most commonly reported phenomenon. Drivers and hikers passing by the creek at night often hear the unmistakable sound of locomotives, the rhythmic pounding of wheels on steel, the screech of brakes, and the distant whistle of an approaching engine. Yet, when they look toward the tracks, there is no train in sight. Some describe seeing fleeting lights resembling a train's headlamp moving along the bridge, only to vanish suddenly before reaching the other side. These occurrences are often accompanied by a sudden chill in the air and a thickening fog, creating an atmosphere of tense anticipation, as though the ghosts of the railway still carry out their work. In addition to phantom trains, witnesses report seeing ghostly figures on the bridge itself. Many appear dressed in vintage railroad uniforms, caps perched neatly on their heads, jackets and trousers worn in the style of early 1900s laborers. These apparitions are often described as motionless, standing at the edges of the bridge or pacing along the rails. When approached, the figures vanish as if melting into the fog. Some locals claim to have seen them waving to them, only to disappear before they could be acknowledged. These sightings suggest that the spirits are echoes of the bridge's past workers, replaying their tasks or lingering in the places where their lives once revolved. Voices carried on the foggy wind are another common phenomenon. Visitors describe hearing calls for help, frantic shouts, or murmurs that seem to come from the middle of the bridge or from beneath its beams. Some have reported hearing clear names, as if the spirits are calling to someone they knew, while others hear unintelligible cries that leave them unsettled and anxious. The combination of unseen figures, ghostly sounds, and chilling environmental conditions creates an immersive, almost cinematic experience for anyone who ventures close to the bridge at night. Stories of personal encounters abound. One hiker reported walking near the bridge during an evening fog and hearing the distant roar of a train approaching. As the sound grew louder, the boards beneath his feet began to vibrate, and he could see faint lights moving along the tracks. But as he stepped onto the bridge, the train sound stopped abruptly, the lights vanished, and the air grew unnaturally cold. Another visitor recounted seeing a shadowy figure in an old railway uniform standing at the midpoint of the bridge. The figure turned as if to look directly at him, raised an arm in a wave, and dissolved into the mist moments later. The experience left him shaken, yet unable to deny what he had witnessed. Paranormal investigators have visited Cedar Creek Bridge in hopes of documenting the unusual activity. Using audio recorders, night vision cameras, and electromagnetic field detectors, they have captured sounds and images that cannot be easily explained. Faint metallic clanging, distant train whistles, and fleeting shadows appear in recordings, even when no human activity is present. Some investigators suggest that the phenomena may be residual energy, echoes of the bridge's bustling past imprinted on the environment, while others speculate that restless spirits, unable to move on, continue to haunt the structure. The bridge's history adds weight to the paranormal reports. Numerous accidents occurred on its tracks, claiming the lives of both railway workers and travelers. The combination of tragedy, isolation, and the bridge's imposing presence over the misty creek may have contributed to the lingering energy that locals report experiencing. Many believe the fog that often shrouds the bridge acts as a veil between the present and the past, allowing the spirits of workers and trains to appear intermittently to those who dare to witness them. Despite its dangers and eerie reputation, Cedar Creek Bridge continues to draw thrill-seekers, paranormal enthusiasts, and curious locals. They walk cautiously along the abandoned approach roads, cameras and recorders in hand, hoping to catch a glimpse of the mysterious phenomena. While skeptics dismiss the experiences as products of imagination, the consistency of reports over decades, combined with historical context, suggests that there is something lingering on the bridge that cannot be fully explained. Cedar Creek Bridge remains a place where history, tragedy, and the unexplained intersect. Phantom trains, ghostly railroad workers, and voices carried on the wind remind visitors that the past is never truly gone. The bridge stands as a testament to the lives once lived upon it, the labor and accidents that shaped its history, and the mysterious forces that continue to linger in the fog. For those who visit, the experience is both unsettling and fascinating, leaving a lasting impression of a place where the living and the dead brush against each other in the dim light of the misty West Virginia Valley. Black River Bridge in Michigan has earned a reputation among locals and thrill-seekers as one of the eeriest spots in the state. Stretching across the dark, slow-moving waters of the Black River, the bridge is constructed from aging timbers. Though it was once a bustling route for vehicles and pedestrians, the bridge has long since fallen into partial disuse, leaving the structure creaking under its own weight and shrouded in shadows at night. Over the years, numerous reports have emerged from visitors who claim to experience strange phenomena-seen presences brushing against them, flickering lights along the old timbers, and ghostly silhouettes appearing and disappearing without explanation. The history of Black River Bridge is steeped in both industrial progress and tragic events. Built in the early 1900s, it connected small logging communities and facilitated the transport of timber and goods across Michigan's waterways. Others died in vehicular accidents as the bridge aged and weather took its toll. These tragedies, combined with the bridge's isolated location, have contributed to a lingering sense of unease that seems to permeate the area. Visitors frequently report the sensation of being watched when approaching the bridge, particularly during the evening hours. Some describe sudden chills and the unmistakable feeling of something brushing past them, though no one else is present. Hikers, photographers, and thrill seekers have all told similar stories of eerie, unseen forces moving along the timbers or near the railings. A subtle but undeniable presence that raises the hair on the back of the neck. The sensation is often accompanied by the faint creaking of the wooden beams, as though invisible footsteps are pacing the bridge alongside the living. Flickering lights along the bridge are another common phenomenon. Many visitors have witnessed sudden, unexplainable glows, sometimes appearing as lantern-like orbs moving along the span, other times as brief flashes of light along the timbers or guardrails. These lights vanish as quickly as they appear, often leaving witnesses questioning whether what they saw was a trick of the eye or something more supernatural. Perhaps the most unsettling reports involve ghostly silhouettes that appear on or near the bridge. Observers describe figures that resemble men or women from decades past, often motionless or slowly pacing the walkway. Some have seen shapes resembling workers in early 20th century clothing, while others report dark, shadowy forms with indistinct features, vanishing the moment they are approached. Witnesses consistently describe a lingering sense of unease after seeing these figures, a feeling that something unseen is aware of their presence and watching intently. One particularly chilling account comes from a pair of photographers who visited the bridge on a foggy autumn evening. As they stepped onto the center of the bridge, their flashlights flickered and went out completely. Moments later, they felt a cold brush against their arms, as though something had moved between them. When the lights returned, a dark figure stood at the far end of the bridge, staring silently. Before they could react, the figure vanished into the mist, leaving only the sound of the wind whistling across the timbers. Another visitor reported walking along the bridge after dark when a series of sudden, bright flashes illuminated shadowy forms moving along the guardrails. The lights flickered on and off, revealing glimpses of figures that seemed to hover or float above the bridge, then vanish entirely. The witness claimed that, as they stepped back toward the entrance, they heard faint whispers, unintelligible but clearly present, carried on the river's breeze. Paranormal investigators have explored Black River Bridge extensively, using night vision cameras, EMF detectors, and audio recording equipment. They have documented unexplained phenomena consistent with local reports. Footage often shows fleeting shapes crossing the span or appearing momentarily near the timbers. Audio recordings capture faint, echoing voices, the creak of unseen footsteps, and occasional, unexplained taps or bangs. Investigators suggest that the bridge may retain residual energy from its long history, including the labor of construction workers, tragic accidents, and decades of human traffic. Some speculate that these echoes have coalesced into intelligent manifestations capable of interacting with visitors in subtle ways. The bridge's environment amplifies its eerie qualities. Fog rising from the Black River often envelops the bridge in a dense, gray mist, reducing visibility and creating an atmosphere of isolation. The combination of weathered wood, creaking steel, and surrounding forest contributes to the sense that the bridge exists in a space removed from the normal flow of time, where past and present intertwine. Those who visit often describe a growing unease as they cross the span, a sense that the bridge is alive in ways beyond the physical, observing and responding to the living who dare to enter its domain. Despite warnings and the unsettling reputation of Black River Bridge, it continues to draw thrill seekers, paranormal enthusiasts, and local storytellers. People venture onto the bridge hoping to capture photographs, record EVPs, or simply experience the inexplicable. Even skeptics often admit to feeling a strange sense of tension and unease, a sensation that cannot be easily dismissed as imagination. Black River Bridge remains a testament to the lingering presence of history, tragedy, and the unexplained. Unseen brushes against visitors, flickering lights along its timbers, and ghostly silhouettes serve as constant reminders that the bridge is more than a forgotten piece of infrastructure. For those who cross it at night, the experience is haunting and unforgettable, leaving a lasting impression of a place where shadows move, presences linger, and the line between the living and the dead seems to blur in the misty air above the Black River. Blue Ridge Bridge in Virginia stretches gracefully over a deep valley, offering breathtaking views of the surrounding Appalachian landscape. By day, it is a marvel of engineering and a scenic stop for travelers. By night, however, the bridge takes on an entirely different character. Locals and visitors alike have reported a series of strange and chilling experiences, suggesting that the bridge is haunted by remnants of the past. Many of the reported phenomena are linked to the Civil War, when battles swept through the region, leaving scars that linger not only in the land, but some claim in the very air above the bridge. Witnesses describe apparitions of soldiers, phantom sounds of cannon fire, and shadowy figures that vanish into the low-hanging mist, creating an atmosphere both eerie and historically poignant. The history of Blue Ridge Bridge is entwined with the turbulent events of the 19th century. During the Civil War, the surrounding valleys were scenes of skirmishes and troop movements, and the areas near the bridge reportedly saw soldiers stationed, marching, or engaged in battle, while the bridge itself was not yet built in its current form during the war. Local folklore ties the structure to the lingering presence of those who died nearby, claiming that the spirits of fallen soldiers sometimes appear where the bridge now spans the valley. The combination of dense forests, rolling hills, and low valleys often produces natural fog and mist, which many believe provides cover for the bridge's spectral visitors. Witnesses frequently report seeing soldier apparitions walking along the bridge at night. These figures are often described in period uniforms, some holding muskets or standing at attention, as if still awaiting orders from long ago. The figures are sometimes fully formed, appearing as solid as living men, while other times they are translucent and shadow-like, fading in and out of view. One visitor recounted pulling over at a turnout near the bridge on a foggy evening. As headlights swept across the span, the observer saw a line of soldiers marching slowly across the bridge, their steps in perfect unison. When the car's engine revved and the driver stepped out to get a better look, the soldiers had vanished completely, leaving only the wind and distant sound of the river below. Phantom cannon fire is another commonly reported phenomenon. Locals and visitors alike have described hearing loud booms, echoes of battle, and the distant clatter of horses' hooves, even when the area is completely quiet and no events are scheduled nearby. These sounds are often accompanied by a sudden drop in temperature and a sense of tension, as though the bridge itself vibrates with the memory of past conflict. In some cases, witnesses report seeing the fog along the valley floor swirl and form shapes resembling campfires or lines of tents, giving the eerie impression that the valley is temporarily returned to the days of war. Shadowy figures appear along the railings and walkways, sometimes standing silently as though observing passing vehicles or pedestrians. These figures often vanish the moment anyone attempts to approach them, leaving a lingering sense of being watched. Hikers and photographers who visit the bridge at night frequently recount moments when they feel a presence beside them, only to turn and find no one there. The combination of fog, darkness, and the echoes of history creates an environment where the boundary between reality and memory seems fluid, and many visitors report feelings of unease, as if the bridge itself is a threshold between the living and the departed. One notable account comes from a couple driving along the Blue Ridge Parkway late at night. As they crossed the bridge, mist rose from the valley below, and the headlights revealed the figure of a soldier standing near the railing. He appeared to be gazing across the valley, musket in hand. The couple stopped their car and rolled down the windows, hoping to see more clearly. The soldier remained for a moment, and then slowly turned and vanished into the mist, leaving only the faint sound of footsteps and a chill in the air. The witnesses described the sense of sorrow and longing emanating from the spot, as if the soldier had been waiting for something or someone for over a century. Paranormal investigators have visited Blue Ridge Bridge numerous times, recording unexplained sounds and capturing anomalous images. Night vision cameras often reveal shadowy shapes moving along the bridge, while audio recordings sometimes capture whispers, murmurs, or the distant thump of cannon fire. Some researchers speculate that the bridge sits atop a site of residual energy, a kind of psychic imprint left behind by the traumatic events of the Civil War. Others believe that the apparitions are intelligent in nature, appearing in response to human observers, almost as if the bridge serves as a point of intersection between two timelines. The natural environment amplifies the bridge's haunting. Fog, low-hanging clouds, and the occasional mist from the valley below create a sense of isolation, while the darkness of night transforms the structure into a ghostly silhouette. The cold air, often tinged with the smell of wet earth and decaying leaves, heightens the sensory experience for visitors, making the appearance of any unusual lights or figures even more striking. Even those who are skeptical admit that the atmosphere of Blue Ridge Bridge is deeply unsettling, and a brief stop to observe the valley can quickly turn into an unforgettable encounter with the unexplained. For those who have witnessed the apparitions, heard the phantom cannon fire, or glimpsed shadowy forms in the mist, Blue Ridge Bridge becomes more than a scenic landmark. It is a place where history lingers, where the memories of those who fought and fell seem to permeate the air, and where the boundary between past and present becomes astonishingly thin. Visitors often leave the bridge with a lingering chill and a sense of awe, contemplating both the beauty of the surrounding landscape and the sorrowful echoes of history that still haunt the Blue Ridge Valley. Blue Ridge Bridge stands as a testament to the enduring presence of the past. Soldiers of the Civil War, long gone, continue to appear and vanish. Cannon fire echoes through the mist, and shadowy forms silently observe those who cross its span. It remains a place where memory, tragedy, and the unexplained converge, offering a haunting glimpse into the intersection of history and the supernatural, and ensuring that the bridge will remain a place of mystery and intrigue for generations to come. Hickory Trestle in North Carolina is an old railroad bridge stretching over a quiet valley, surrounded by dense forests and rolling hills. By day, it appears as a relic of a bygone era, a testament to early engineering and the region's industrial past. But by night, locals and visitors alike report experiences that are far from ordinary. Strange lights flicker along the bridge. Shadowy figures appear without explanation, and the air carries whispers that seem to come from nowhere. Over the years, Hickory Trestle has earned a reputation as one of North Carolina's most haunted sites, drawing curiosity seekers, paranormal investigators, and those intrigued by the unexplained. Stories surrounding the trestle often involve ghostly women in period dresses. Witnesses describe seeing figures in long skirts and bonnets, walking along the wooden planks or leaning silently against the rails. These apparitions are sometimes fully visible, while at other times, they are translucent, fading in and out of view as if caught between two worlds. One local recounted, standing at the edge of the trestle during a foggy evening, out of the mist emerged a woman in a flowing dress, her face obscured by shadows. She appeared to walk across the bridge, pausing occasionally to glance over the railing, before vanishing without a trace. Many believe these women may be spirits tied to the era when the trestle was first in use, lingering along the walkway in moments of sorrow or longing. Whispers along the bridge are another commonly reported phenomenon. People walking across the trestle at night frequently describe hearing soft voices carried on the wind, speaking in tones that are barely audible yet unmistakably human. Some report hearing names called out, questions asked, or snippets of conversation that dissolve as quickly as they appear. Visitors have described the experience as deeply unsettling, a sensation of being observed or followed by invisible presences. Paranormal enthusiasts suggest that the bridge may be a conduit for residual energy, replaying sounds and movements from decades past, while others believe the spirits are consciously aware of those crossing the bridge, reacting to their presence in subtle ways. Unexplained lights add another layer of mystery to Hickory Trestle. Several witnesses report seeing glowing orbs or flickering, lantern-like lights floating along the length of the bridge or hovering just above the valley below. These lights often appear in areas where no one is present, moving slowly or drifting erratically, as if drawn by an unseen force. In some cases, photographs taken at night capture strange streaks of illumination that defy explanation, further fueling stories of hauntings. Locals tell tales of lights that follow vehicles or pedestrians, fading when approached and returning once the observer moves away. Some interpret these lights as the spirits of those long gone, still traversing the bridge in spectral form. A particularly chilling account comes from a group of teenagers who decided to explore Hickory Trestle one autumn evening. As they crossed the wooden planks, the air suddenly grew cold, and a dense fog rolled in from the valley below. Out of the mist, a woman in a white period dress appeared, her figure perfectly still as she stood near the railing. One of the teens called out, and the figure slowly turned, revealing a pale, sorrowful face before vanishing entirely. Moments later, soft whispers seemed to circle the group, speaking in a language they could not understand. The teens fled, leaving behind backpacks and a sense of unease that lingered long after they returned home. Paranormal investigators have long been drawn to Hickory Trestle, intrigued by reports of ghostly sightings, strange sounds, and unexplained lights. Using night vision cameras, audio recorders, and electromagnetic field detectors, they have captured shadowy shapes moving along the bridge, faint voices calling out, and lights appearing in areas without any electrical source. Some recordings even reveal whispers that were not heard at the time, adding to the sense that the trestle is a place where normal perception is challenged. Investigators speculate that the bridge may act as a kind of liminal space, a threshold where the energy of past lives intersects with the living, creating phenomena that are difficult to explain through conventional science. The natural environment of Hickory Trestle amplifies the haunting. Dense forests on either side of the bridge create long shadows at night, while fog rolling through the valley can obscure vision and distort sound. The wooden planks of the walkway creak underfoot, adding to the sensation that the bridge itself is alive with echoes of the past. Cold breezes sweep across the structure, often appearing suddenly and without explanation, further heightening the sense of otherworldliness. Even those skeptical of ghosts often admit that crossing the trestle after dark produces a palpable tension and an acute awareness of the surrounding environment. For those who have experienced the ghostly women, the whispers, and the moving lights, Hickory Trestle is more than an abandoned bridge. It is a place where history and memory linger, where the presence of the past feels tangible, and where the unexplained manifests in ways that are both subtle and profoundly unsettling. Visitors often leave the bridge with a sense of awe and trepidation, reflecting on the passage of time, the lives that once crossed the same path, and the mystery that continues to envelop the structure. Hickory Trestle remains a destination for those seeking the paranormal, offering a haunting glimpse into a world where history refuses to remain in the past. The ghostly women in period dresses, the soft whispers along the walkway, and the flickering lights that move without source all contribute to the bridge's reputation as a site of eerie encounters. It is a place where the ordinary and the supernatural converge, leaving a lasting impression on anyone who dares to step onto its wooden planks after dark. Iron River Bridge in Illinois spans a quiet, winding stretch of the Iron River, connecting small towns on either side of the water. By day, it is a sturdy reminder of early 20th century engineering, its iron girders glinting in the sunlight and its wooden planks creaking gently under traffic. But after night falls, the bridge transforms into a place of eerie reports and unexplained phenomena. Locals and travelers alike have described strange experiences that suggest the Iron River Bridge is far more than a mere structure. It may be a portal where the past lingers in unexpected ways. Many who visit after dark report seeing phantom engineers walking along the tracks. These figures are often dressed in early 1900s work attire, overalls, caps, and lanterns in hand. Witnesses describe them appearing suddenly, inspecting the rails with methodical precision, only to vanish when approached. One motorist driving across the bridge at night recounted seeing a man kneeling beside the tracks, seemingly measuring the distance between ties. When the driver slowed to get a closer look, the figure simply disappeared, leaving the rails empty and still. Paranormal investigators suggest these apparitions could be residual energy echoes of the workers who maintained the bridge decades ago, their routines replaying like a film projected into the present. Cold drafts along the bridge deck are another commonly reported phenomenon. Even on warm summer nights, visitors often feel sudden chills as though icy wind sweeps across the planks from nowhere. These gusts are localized and fleeting, often appearing in the middle of the bridge and disappearing just as quickly. Some pedestrians have reported shivering uncontrollably despite wearing jackets, with temperatures rising back to normal as soon as the sensation passes. Paranormal experts theorize that these cold spots may be linked to the presence of spirits or energy fields left behind by the bridge's long history of labor and travel. Echoing footsteps add another layer of mystery. People crossing the bridge after dark often hear the distinct sound of boots or heavy shoes pacing behind or alongside them. Yet, when they turn to look, no one is there. Occasionally, the footsteps seem to come from the opposite side of the bridge or from under the iron girders, creating the impression that the bridge itself is alive with movement. Several accounts describe the footsteps keeping pace with visitors, stopping when they stop and starting again when they move, as if an invisible companion is walking in tandem. The effect is profoundly unsettling, leaving an impression that someone or something is eternally patrolling the bridge. A particularly chilling account comes from a pair of teenagers who decided to explore the Iron River Bridge late one autumn evening. As they approached the center of the span, they noticed a faint lantern glow bobbing in the distance. At first, they thought it was a fellow explorer or a late-night worker. But as they got closer, the figure resolved into a man in old-fashioned work clothes, carefully inspecting the rails. When one of the teens called out, the man lifted his head slowly, revealing a pale, solemn face, before vanishing entirely into thin air. Moments later, cold air swept across the deck, and the faint sound of hammering echoed as if the bridge itself was alive with memory. The teens fled, leaving the experience etched in their minds for years to come. Photographers and ghost hunters have also been drawn to Iron River Bridge. Nighttime photography often captures unexplained light anomalies along the tracks or ghostly shapes that vanish when viewed directly. Audio recordings sometimes pick up faint tapping, footsteps, or whispers, none of which are audible at the time of recording. Paranormal researchers theorize that the bridge's metal construction, combined with its long history of human activity, may make it a focal point for energy left by past workers or travelers, manifesting in visual, auditory, and tactile phenomena. The natural environment surrounding Iron River Bridge contributes to its eerie reputation. The river below reflects the moonlight in silvery streaks, often distorting shadows and creating visual illusions. Dense tree lines on either side block light and muffle sound, so even minor noises echo ominously across the span. Fog often rolls in from the river, shrouding the structure and amplifying the sense of isolation. Many visitors describe the combination of fog, cold drafts, and shadowy figures as creating a liminal space where ordinary perception fails, making the bridge a compelling location for both thrill-seekers and paranormal enthusiasts. For those who've experienced the phantom engineers, cold drafts, and echoing footsteps, Iron River Bridge is more than a bridge. It is a place where the past persists in subtle and sometimes startling ways, a conduit for memories, energy, and perhaps spirits of those who once labored on its rails. The reports of shadowy figures inspecting tracks, unexplained chills on the deck, and the sound of boots pacing alongside pedestrians all contribute to a growing body of accounts that suggest the bridge is haunted in the truest sense. Iron River Bridge remains a destination for the curious, the brave, and the intrigued. Each nighttime visitor leaves with stories that feed the local lore. Phantom engineers performing their duties, chilling drafts sweeping across wooden planks, and footsteps echoing endlessly over the river below. It stands as a haunting reminder that history never truly disappears, and that some structures carry the weight of their past into the present, lingering in ways both visible and invisible. Pine Valley Bridge in upstate New York has long been a site of local fascination and unease. Stretching over a narrow gorge, the bridge was constructed in the early 1900s and has witnessed decades of travel, storms, and tragic accidents. Over the years, the area surrounding the bridge has developed a reputation for paranormal activity, drawing curiosity seekers, ghost hunters, and nervous drivers alike. Locals tell stories of mysterious figures appearing in the fog, shadowy shapes moving along the steel beams, and voices carrying warnings to those crossing after dark. The bridge's long history of accidents contributes heavily to its eerie reputation. In the mid-20th century, several vehicles plunged into the valley below during foggy nights, leading to fatalities and countless rescues. Witnesses now claim that these tragedies left a lingering presence on and around the structure. Drivers traveling across the bridge at night often report seeing sudden figures in the mist, resembling people trying to flag them down or silently walking along the lanes. These apparitions appear fully formed for a few seconds before dissolving into the fog, leaving the observer startled and unsure of what they saw. One recurring phenomenon involves shadowy figures moving among the bridge's beams. Several locals and urban explorers recount glimpsing dark, humanoid forms climbing or walking along the upper trusses, even though these areas are entirely inaccessible by normal means. Some describe seeing a figure pause mid-step, look down, and then vanish as if swallowed by the night. Paranormal investigators suggest that these shadows may be residual energy, replaying moments of fear or confusion from past accidents. Others believe they could be more conscious entities attempting to communicate with or warn visitors. Voices are another unsettling aspect of Pine Valley Bridge's haunting. Pedestrians and drivers alike report hearing disembodied voices echoing through the fog, often repeating short warnings or cryptic phrases. Commonly heard words include "slow down," "watch out," or "don't cross." The voices often seem to come from nowhere, and no recording devices have ever captured them with clarity. Those who hear them describe a palpable sense of urgency, as though the unseen speaker is trying to prevent a tragedy from repeating itself. Some researchers theorize that these auditory phenomena could be imprints of panic or fear left behind by past victims, resonating across the steel structure in the stillness of night. Fog plays a significant role in the bridge's haunting. On nights when visibility drops, figures and movements seem to materialize more clearly. The thick mist can distort light and shape, turning ordinary objects into fleeting, ghostly forms. Drivers recount suddenly seeing silhouettes standing on the bridge or moving along the beams, only to disappear when the headlights illuminate them fully. Many also describe a heavy, almost tactile sensation in the air, a chilling pressure that accompanies the visual phenomena. Those sensitive to temperature often notice sudden cold spots in the fog, especially near the center of the bridge. A particularly chilling account comes from a late-night commuter who was driving across Pine Valley Bridge during a dense fog. As the vehicle reached a midpoint, the driver noticed a figure standing in the lane ahead, motionless. Slamming on the brakes, they swerved slightly, and when the headlights fully illuminated the area, the figure was gone. Moments later, a faint voice seemed to whisper, "Careful," carried by the wind through the fog. The driver, shaken, recounted seeing no other cars or pedestrians, and noted the absence of footprints or tire marks where the figure had stood. Local authorities confirmed no one was on the bridge at the time, leaving the incident unexplained. Urban explorers visiting the bridge during late hours often report similar encounters. Shadowy figures are seen clinging to or walking along the iron framework. Lights flicker inexplicably, and small metallic objects sometimes roll across the deck as if moved by invisible hands. Audio recorders sometimes capture faint screams, hurried footsteps, or whispered warnings. Though none of these sounds correspond to actual people present, these phenomena have contributed to the belief that Pine Valley Bridge is a hotspot for residual energy and active hauntings, possibly tied to the multiple accidents over its long history. Despite the danger and chilling reports, Pine Valley Bridge remains a location for thrill seekers and paranormal enthusiasts. Many choose to visit at night, hoping to catch a glimpse of the apparitions or hear the whispering voices firsthand. Even casual travelers report unease while crossing after sunset, noting the oppressive fog, sudden temperature drops, and the sense that unseen eyes are watching them. For locals, the bridge serves as a reminder of both its history and its mysteries, a place where past and present intersect in unexpected ways. Investigators emphasize that Pine Valley Bridge's haunting may be a combination of environmental factors, human psychology, and historical trauma. The fog, reflective surfaces, and isolation create conditions ripe for illusions and heightened fear. While the bridge's tragic past may contribute to the reported ghostly phenomena, whether these sightings are residual energy, conscious spirits, or the mind's response to a foreboding environment, they continue to draw attention and stories. For those who have experienced it, Pine Valley Bridge is more than a simple crossing over water. It is a place where the past lingers, manifesting as apparitions in the mist, shadows among the beams, and voices that seem to echo warnings from another time. Locals advise caution and respect, noting that the stories, whether supernatural or psychological, are a reminder of the bridge's long and often tragic history. As fog rolls in over the valley and night falls, travelers can only wonder what unseen presences might be watching, guiding, or warning them as they make their way across Pine Valley Bridge. Silver Creek Bridge, spanning a quiet river in rural Ohio, has long been a magnet for local legends and unexplained occurrences. Stretching over a mile of dark waters, the bridge's steel framework creaks and groans in the wind, creating an eerie atmosphere even in daylight. But after sunset, stories of ghostly activity come alive. Locals have reported floating lights hovering above the water, shadowy figures near the steel supports, and unexplained bangs echoing along the girders. The bridge has earned a reputation as one of Ohio's most unsettling and haunted sites, drawing curiosity seekers, ghost hunters, and nervous travelers who hope to witness or survive its strange phenomena. Witnesses consistently describe strange floating lights moving slowly above the river beneath the bridge. Some claim to see a single orb drifting across the water, pulsing softly as it hovers, while others report multiple lights weaving around the bridge's supports as if inspecting the structure. The lights often appear for only a few moments, vanishing suddenly, leaving observers questioning whether they witnessed a natural phenomenon, reflected light, or something far more supernatural. Those who have seen the lights say there is a palpable sense of being watched, an unseen presence that seems to linger in the air long after the lights disappear. Shadowy figures are another frequent occurrence at Silver Creek Bridge. Locals describe dark forms standing or moving near the steel supports, sometimes appearing human but distorted and elongated as if stretched by the fog or darkness. One visitor recounted seeing a figure lean against a girder, then slowly rise into the air before vanishing into the night. Others describe shapes darting along the bridge deck or even moving along the trusses above, appearing and disappearing in a way that defies explanation. Paranormal investigators suggest that these figures may be residual energy from past accidents or deaths, replaying moments of fear or struggle in the stillness of the night. Accompanying these visual phenomena are unexplained sounds. The steel girders of Silver Creek Bridge frequently produce loud bangs and metallic clanks that have no discernible source. Witnesses describe the noises as sudden and sharp, echoing across the river and startling anyone on or near the bridge. Some speculate the sounds are caused by the wind interacting with the structure, but many who have spent hours observing the bridge insist that the timing and intensity of the noises do not align with natural causes. At times, the bangs are followed by a feeling of pressure in the air or a sudden drop in temperature, intensifying the eerie sensation for those present. A particularly unsettling story comes from a group of teens who decided to explore the bridge after hearing local tales. As they walked along the pedestrian walkway, a bright, floating light appeared beneath them on the water. One teen, daring to approach the railing, leaned over for a closer look. Suddenly, a shadowy figure appeared near the steel support, its form dark and undefined, and a series of loud bangs reverberated through the bridge. The teens reported a chilling gust of wind and a sensation of being pushed back from the railing, though no one was nearby. Panicked, they fled, claiming the bridge seemed alive and aware of their presence. The bridge's history contributes to its haunted reputation. Silver Creek Bridge has been the site of numerous accidents and mysterious deaths over the decades, ranging from vehicle plunges into the water to construction-related fatalities. Locals believe these tragic events left a lingering energy imprinting moments of fear and anguish onto the bridge itself. Paranormal enthusiasts theorize that the floating lights, shadowy figures, and metallic bangs are manifestations of this energy, replaying fragments of past events for those sensitive enough to perceive them. Fog and darkness seem to enhance the bridge's supernatural activity. On nights when the river is shrouded in mist, witnesses report that lights appear brighter and figures are more defined, their movements more deliberate. The fog can distort perception, making ordinary objects appear otherworldly, but many insist that what they saw could not be explained by optical illusions alone. Some report a heavy, oppressive feeling when crossing the bridge under these conditions, a sensation that something unseen is close by, watching every movement. Drivers, pedestrians, and curious onlookers have shared numerous experiences over the years. One motorist reported seeing a shadow move across the bridge deck as headlights illuminated it, only for the figure to vanish moments later. Another recounted hearing a series of loud metallic bangs as they stopped to look at the river, and then glimpsing a faint light hovering beneath the bridge, which disappeared when they blinked. Such accounts, repeated over decades, have solidified Silver Creek Bridge's reputation as a hotspot for paranormal phenomena in Ohio. Paranormal investigators often visit the bridge with cameras, audio recorders, and thermal imaging equipment, attempting to capture evidence of the supernatural. Many have recorded unexplained light anomalies, temperature fluctuations, and faint noises that do not correspond to any human activity, while skeptics argue that wind, structural settling, and optical illusions may explain some phenomena. The consistency of eyewitness reports makes it difficult to dismiss the bridge entirely. For those who visit Silver Creek Bridge, caution and respect are advised. Locals warn against wandering onto the bridge alone at night, noting that the combination of darkness, fog, and reported paranormal activity can be disorienting and potentially dangerous. Despite tour, perhaps because of its eerie reputation, the bridge continues to attract thrill seekers, photographers, and ghost enthusiasts, all hoping to witness its ghostly lights, shadowy figures, and mysterious metallic bangs. Whether the phenomena are residual energy, restless spirits, or simply a product of imagination heightened by the bridge's isolation and tragic history, Silver Creek Bridge remains an enigmatic and unsettling landmark. Its floating lights, shadowy forms, and echoing clangs ensure that the bridge is remembered not only for its steel and structure, but for the lingering sense of mystery and fear that surrounds it. At night, as fog rolls in over the river, travelers crossing Silver Creek Bridge often feel the weight of unseen eyes and hear the whisper of steel and shadows, a reminder that some histories never truly rest. Maple Trestle, stretching across a quiet river in rural Michigan, is known for its striking wooden structure and long, creaking spans. During the day, it appears as a picturesque remnant of Michigan's industrial past. But as night falls, the trestle transforms into a place of unsettling encounters. For decades, locals and travelers have reported seeing phantom trains crossing the bridge, ghostly figures working along the rails, and sudden, unexplained cold spots that chilled the bones. These stories have earned Maple Trestle a reputation as one of Michigan's most haunted railroad sites, drawing curiosity seekers, photographers, and paranormal investigators who hope to catch a glimpse of the unexplained. One of the most frequently reported phenomena is the appearance of phantom trains. Witnesses describe seeing entire locomotives materialize on the tracks, often glowing faintly, moving silently, or accompanied by distant, echoing whistles. Some people report the trains appearing just as they step onto the bridge, only to vanish when approached. One traveler recounted stopping mid-crossing to watch a massive steam engine roll across the trestle, complete with flickering lights in the cab, only for the train to vanish into thin air as he reached for his camera. These sightings are not limited to a single location. Multiple reports from different decades describe the same spectral train phenomenon, suggesting a recurring pattern rather than isolated imagination. In addition to ghostly trains, visitors often report seeing apparitions of workers along the trestle. Shadowy figures, dressed in early 20th century rail uniforms, are seen hammering rails, inspecting ties, or or leaning over the edge of the bridge as if lost in labor. Their movements appear purposeful, but ethereal, and they often vanish if approached directly. One night, a group of teenagers exploring the trestle observed a figure bent over a rail, swinging a hammer in rhythm with an unseen beat. When they called out, the figure froze, then slowly faded into the darkness, leaving behind only the echo of hammering in the still night. Paranormal investigators suggest these figures may be residual energy echoes of workers who met tragic accidents during the bridge's construction or operation, replaying moments of their labor over and over. Visitors also report sudden, intense cold spots along the bridge, even during warm summer nights. These cold zones are often accompanied by a feeling of being watched, a pressure in the air, or the faint sound of footsteps and creaking wood. Hikers and explorers frequently note that the temperature drop is localized, passing quickly as they move along the trestle. Some paranormal researchers believe these cold spots are linked to the presence of spirits or the residual energy of past events, manifesting as a physical sensation that can't be explained by natural wind or weather patterns. One particularly chilling account comes from a night photography enthusiast who ventured onto Maple Trestle to capture the glow of the moon over the river. As he set up his tripod, he noticed a train appearing in the distance. Its lights glimmered softly, casting shadows on the wooden planks, but no sound of engines or wheels reached him. Suddenly, he felt a cold breeze sweep across the trestle, and shadowy figures appeared along the rails, hammering in silence. Frightened, he attempted to retreat, but the cold intensified, and the ghostly workers seemed to surround him. Moments later, the train vanished, the figures disappeared, and warmth returned, leaving him shaken and questioning whether what he experienced was real or imagined. The history of Maple Trestle adds to its eerie reputation. Constructed in the early 1900s, the bridge was a vital connection for the local railroad network, but was the site of multiple accidents, including falls, derailments, and construction mishaps. Some of the most tragic stories involve workers who fell while hammering or inspecting rails, vanishing into the river below. Locals believe the accidents left residual energy on the trestle, replaying the moments of fear, labor, and tragedy for those who ventured too close. Foggy nights intensify the paranormal phenomena. When mist rises from the river, visitors report that the phantom trains appear brighter, and shadowy figures become more defined, their movements more deliberate. The fog seems to distort perception, amplifying the sense of unease and making ordinary structural shadows appear otherworldly. Many who have crossed the trestle under these conditions speak of a heavy, oppressive sensation, as if unseen eyes are watching every step. The combination of darkness, fog, and residual energy creates an environment that is both mesmerizing and deeply unnerving. For those who dare to visit, safety and respect are paramount. Locals warn against venturing onto the trestle alone at night, noting that the combination of the bridge's height, slippery planks, and paranormal occurrences can be dangerous. Despite these warnings, the trestle continues to attract thrill seekers, ghost enthusiasts, and photographers hoping to capture evidence of the ghostly trains, spectral workers, and chilling cold spots that have haunted Maple Trestle for generations. Paranormal investigators often visit with cameras, audio recorders, and thermal equipment, attempting to document the phenomena. Many report capturing unexplained orbs of light, temperature anomalies, and fleeting shadowy figures in their footage. Skeptics argue that wind, light reflections, and imagination may account for some experiences, but the consistency of reports across decades makes Maple Trestle a compelling site for those interested in the unexplained. Whether the ghosts of workers and phantom trains are residual energy, wandering spirits, or simply the product of imagination heightened by the bridge's history and isolation, Maple Trestle remains a place of mystery and unease. Its spectral locomotives, hammering apparitions, and sudden cold spots ensure that those who cross the bridge never forget the sense of something unseen, lingering in the shadows. On foggy nights, as the wooden beams groan and the river flows silently below, Maple Trestle serves as a chilling reminder that the echoes of the past never truly vanish. Riverbend Bridge in Pennsylvania, an old iron and wooden structure spanning the quiet waters of the Susquehanna River, has long been the subject of eerie tales. By day, it appears as a picturesque relic of the past, with rusted beams stretching across calm waters, and walkers and photographers occasionally pausing to admire the view. But as night descends, Riverbend Bridge transforms into a place of unsettling phenomena, drawing locals and paranormal enthusiasts alike who report experiences that defy explanation. Shadowy figures walking along the rails, flickering lanterns with no visible source, and voices carried eerily over the river have become consistent accounts, earning the bridge a reputation as one of Pennsylvania's most haunted landmarks. Many witnesses describe seeing shadowy figures moving along the middle of the rails, often late at night when the bridge is empty. These figures are humanoid in shape but lack discernible features, appearing as dark silhouettes against the faint glow of the river below. Some report that the figures seem to be walking deliberately, pacing slowly along the length of the bridge before vanishing when approached. One evening, a fisherman returning from the river saw a tall shadow standing in the center of the tracks. He called out, but the figure neither responded nor acknowledged him. It simply dissipated into the night air, leaving behind a chill that lingered long after he left the bridge. Multiple accounts over decades describe similar experiences, suggesting that this is not an isolated phenomenon, but a recurring presence that haunts Riverbend Bridge. Flickering lights are another common feature of Riverbend's haunting. Several visitors have reported seeing lantern-like glows moving along the bridge without any visible person carrying them. Some claim the lights float above the rails, swaying slightly as if in the hand of a ghostly figure, while others describe them flickering at the edge of their vision, disappearing when they turn to face them directly. These lanterns often appear at the same time as the shadowy figures, illuminating the path just enough to make the silhouettes visible before fading into darkness. Paranormal investigators suggest these lights may be residual energy, remnants of workers or travelers from a bygone era who once crossed the bridge carrying lanterns, leaving behind imprints of their presence. The most unnerving experiences reported at Riverbend Bridge involve the auditory phenomena. Witnesses often speak of hearing faint voices echoing across the water, carried by the wind from the bridge. Some describe the voices as whispers, calling out names or issuing warnings, while others recount muffled conversations, laughter, or the indistinct chatter of people who are not physically present. One hiker reported pausing on the bridge to take in the river below when he heard what sounded like several people arguing. The voices seemed close, yet no one could be seen. When he reached the midpoint, the sounds abruptly ceased, leaving an oppressive silence that made his skin crawl. These auditory experiences add a layer of psychological tension to the bridge, making even the bravest visitor feel as though unseen eyes are watching and unseen ears are listening. The history of Riverbend Bridge helps explain some of the haunting lore. Constructed in the late 1800s, the bridge was vital for rail traffic connecting rural Pennsylvania towns. During its operational years, the bridge was the site of multiple accidents, including workers falling into the river, rail cars derailing, and passengers experiencing sudden misfortune. Locals believe that these tragic events left residual energy on the bridge, replaying moments of fear, labor, and distress for anyone who dares to cross at night. Ghost stories grew over time as visitors, nightwalkers, and even law enforcement personnel reported unexplained sightings and sounds, weaving a tapestry of eerie encounters that continues to this day. Foggy nights intensify the spectral phenomena. When mist rises off the river, visibility drops, and the shadowy figures appear more distinct against a hazy backdrop. Lantern lights seem brighter and more purposeful, and voices become distorted, echoing in ways that make it difficult to locate their source. Several hikers and photographers have described the fog as oppressive, weighing down the air and amplifying the sensation that the bridge is alive with unseen entities. In these conditions, ordinary shadows are easily mistaken for figures, and every creak of the old timbers seems amplified, creating a symphony of unease. Visitors often report a feeling of being watched even when no figures are visible. This sensation, combined with sudden chills, inexplicable movements, and the visual apparitions, contributes to the bridge's chilling reputation. Paranormal investigators, equipped with cameras, infrared sensors, and audio recorders, frequently attempt to document these phenomena. And while skeptics argue that wind, light reflections, or imagination may account for some experiences, the consistency of reports over time strengthens the case for something beyond the ordinary. One widely shared account involves a couple walking across Riverbend Bridge during a late summer evening. They reported seeing a faint lantern glow approach along the tracks and hearing the sound of footsteps matching their own pace. As the light neared, a shadowy figure became visible, moving in step with them, yet seeming entirely detached from the physical world. Panic set in as the couple tried to quicken their pace, but the sounds and light mirrored every move. Moments later, both the lantern and the figure vanished as they reached the far end of the bridge, leaving them shaken and uncertain whether they had seen a spirit or merely imagined the experience. Whether these phenomena are residual echoes, wandering spirits, or simply heightened perception in a haunting environment, Riverbend Bridge remains a place of fascination and fear. Its shadowy figures, flickering lanterns, and whispering voices ensure that anyone crossing after dark will feel a heightened sense of vulnerability, as if the bridge itself carries the memories of the past. On misty nights, with the river flowing silently below and the wooden beams creaking underfoot, Riverbend Bridge stands as a chilling reminder that the line between the living and the unseen is often thinner than we imagine. Crescent Trestle in Kentucky, an aging iron and wood structure spanning a quiet river valley, has long been the focus of ghost stories and unexplained occurrences. By day, the trestle appears as a serene relic of early railroad engineering, its rusted girders stretching across the water and dense trees lining the banks below. But as night falls, Crescent Trestle transforms into a place of eerie manifestations, drawing curiosity seekers and paranormal enthusiasts alike. Locals tell tales of ghostly figures leaning over the railings, lights moving mysteriously when the bridge is empty, and phantom train sounds echoing across the valley, all of which are said to be tied to the tragic death of a railroad engineer who perished there decades ago. The most commonly reported phenomena at Crescent Trestle involve the shadowy apparition of a man, believed to be the engineer who died in a derailment during the bridge's early years. Witnesses describe seeing a tall, indistinct figure standing near the railings, often gazing down toward the water below. Some claim the figure wears a tattered uniform reminiscent of railroad workers from the late 19th or early 20th century, though details are always vague, as if the apparition blurs at the edges of perception. One evening, a hiker crossing the adjacent trail noticed a figure standing motionless at the midpoint of the bridge. When he called out, the figure slowly turned, raised a hand, and vanished as suddenly as it appeared. Locals say these appearances are most common on foggy nights or in the moments just before dawn, lending a spectral quality that seems almost purposeful. Mysterious lights are another hallmark of Crescent Trestle's hauntings. People frequently report lantern-like glows moving along the bridge when no one is present. Sometimes these lights float along the tracks as if carried by an unseen hand, while other times they dart suddenly, illuminating beams and rails before disappearing. Witnesses who have attempted to follow the lights often describe the illumination fading as they approach, leaving only the darkness and the creaking of the old timbers beneath their feet. Paranormal investigators suggest that these lights may represent residual energy from the engineer's last moments or from past trains that once crossed the trestle, leaving a lingering imprint on the environment. Whatever their origin, the lights are both mesmerizing and unsettling, adding to the bridge's reputation as a place where the boundary between the living and the spectral is thin. Perhaps the most unnerving aspect of Crescent Trestle is the soundscape that accompanies it after dark. Visitors frequently hear the roar of train engines, the squeal of wheels against rails, and the whistle of a locomotive, even though the bridge has been abandoned for decades. These phantom sounds often coincide with the appearance of the engineer's figure or the moving lights, creating an immersive and frightening experience. One local recounts standing on the embankment as a low rumble grew beneath his feet, followed by a rhythmic clattering, like wheels rolling over tracks. When he ran to investigate, the sound ceased abruptly, and the bridge lay empty, silent, except for the whisper of the wind through the timbers. For many, these auditory phenomena are the most convincing evidence that Crescent Trestle is more than just a relic of industrial history. It is a space haunted by the memory of a tragic event. The history of Crescent Trestle offers context for these experiences. Constructed in the late 1800s, the bridge was a vital link for rail travel and commerce. During its years of operation, a derailment claimed the life of a young engineer who had been inspecting the bridge during a routine train crossing. Accounts describe the engineer attempting to save the train or warn workers of an unstable section of track, but the effort ended in disaster. Since that tragedy, locals claim the area has never felt entirely peaceful, with reports of unexplained lights and ghostly figures emerging soon afterward. Over time, the story of the engineer and the derailment became entwined with reports of hauntings, reinforcing the bridge's reputation as a site where past and present converge. Foggy and rainy nights intensify the sense of otherworldliness. When mist rises from the river, visibility is limited, and shadows appear more solid than they do in clear conditions. The lights seem brighter against the haze, and distant train sounds echo unnaturally, amplifying the impression that the bridge is alive with unseen activity. Visitors often report feeling watched, sensing a presence even when nothing is visible. Cold drafts sweep across the trestle, chilling anyone on foot, and sometimes the metal railings vibrate slightly under an invisible weight. These subtle physical cues contribute to the haunting atmosphere, making Crescent Trestle a location that commands both awe and apprehension. One account involves a pair of teenagers who ventured onto the bridge after dark. As they reached the midpoint, they noticed a dim light moving along the tracks, accompanied by the faint sound of a train whistle. A dark figure appeared near the railing, seemingly inspecting the bridge. Panicked, the teenagers ran toward the exit, but the figure and light followed, maintaining distance but never leaving the bridge. When they finally reached solid ground, both had vanished, leaving the teens shaken and wary of the trestle for years afterward. Stories like this are common and often shared among locals and paranormal enthusiasts, further cementing the bridge's eerie reputation. Whether the phenomena are residual echoes of the engineer's last moments, spirits of the departed, or the mind's reaction to an atmospheric location, Crescent Trestle continues to fascinate and terrify. Its ghostly figure, moving lights, and phantom train sounds ensure that anyone crossing after dark will feel a heightened sense of unease. On fog-laden nights, with the river flowing silently beneath and the wind whispering through the rails, Crescent Trestle stands as a chilling testament to tragedy, memory, and the thin line between the natural and supernatural. Willow Creek Bridge in Indiana is a weathered relic of the railroad era, stretching over a narrow, meandering creek that reflects the changing sky above. By day, it is an unassuming structure of aged timber and rusted iron, quietly blending into the surrounding forested hills. But by night, it becomes a place of mystery and dread, drawing thrill-seekers, ghost hunters, and locals who recount chilling encounters with the unexplained. Stories persist of apparitions in old railroad uniforms, flickering lights along the bridge deck, and shadowy figures vanishing into the creeping mist, leaving witnesses with a lingering sense of unease. The most frequently reported phenomenon at Willow Creek Bridge involves ghostly figures clad in railroad attire from decades past. Many who venture onto the bridge after sunset describe seeing men in period uniforms walking along the tracks or leaning over the guardrails. Witnesses often report that these apparitions move slowly, almost deliberately, as though inspecting the bridge or watching the water below. Some claim to have caught glimpses of faces pale and indistinct, with eyes that seem to follow every movement. One night, a local hiker observed a figure pacing the center of the bridge, holding what appeared to be a lantern. When approached, the figure simply faded into the fog, leaving behind only the faint smell of smoke and oil. Encounters like this have led many to believe that the spirits are tied to the bridge's railroad history. Perhaps workers who perished in accidents or individuals devoted to the rails, even in death. Flickering lights along the deck of Willow Creek Bridge are another hallmark of its haunting. Many visitors have reported seeing lantern-like glows, small orbs, or sudden flashes that appear and disappear without explanation. Sometimes the lights move as if carried by an unseen hand, tracing the path of the tracks or hovering near the edges of the bridge. Others have described lights that flare brightly before vanishing, leaving the deck in near total darkness. Attempts to photograph or record the phenomena often fail, with cameras capturing only the static, fog-shrouded structure. Paranormal investigators suggest these lights may be residual energy from the bridge's operational days or manifestations of spirits attempting to make their presence known. Regardless of their origin, the lights intensify the sense of otherworldliness, turning an ordinary wooden trestle into a stage for unexplained events. The mist that rises from Willow Creek adds an additional layer of eeriness to the bridge. On cool evenings, fog often drifts across the water and climbs the trestle, partially obscuring the structure and the tracks. Visitors frequently report shadowy figures emerging from this mist, walking along the bridge or pausing mid-span. As quickly as they appear, the figures vanish, leaving only empty planks and the faint sound of footsteps. One paranormal enthusiast recounted waiting in the fog for over an hour, only to see a group of figures in railroad attire slowly cross the bridge before dissolving into the mist. The combination of fog, shadow, and historical energy seems to amplify the haunting, creating an environment where the living and the spectral can almost coexist. Sounds at Willow Creek Bridge are just as compelling and unsettling as the sights. Witnesses describe the creaking of old timbers under invisible weight, echoing footsteps, and occasional metallic clangs as if machinery or rail cars were nearby. Some report hearing distant train whistles or the rhythmic clatter of wheels along rails, even though the bridge has been abandoned for decades. These auditory experiences often coincide with sightings of apparitions or flickering lights, creating an immersive sense of the past bleeding into the present. One visitor described standing on the bridge when a sudden gust carried the sound of a whistle across the misty creek, followed by the soft murmur of voices calling across the rails. The sound ceased as abruptly as they began, leaving the witness questioning whether the events had been real or a product of the imagination. Such accounts are common, lending credibility to the idea that Willow Creek Bridge is a liminal space where history lingers. The bridge's historical background provides context for the reported hauntings. Constructed in the late 19th century, Willow Creek Bridge was part of a regional railroad network, essential for transporting goods and passengers. Its wooden planks and iron supports have borne the weight of countless trains over the decades. Historical records reveal at least one serious accident during its operational years, in which a worker fell from the deck and perished in the creek below. Stories of this tragedy have been passed down locally, and many believe that the spirits seen today are tied to these early events. Over time, the combination of real-life incidents and the natural eeriness of an abandoned railroad bridge has cemented Willow Creek's reputation as a haunted location. Many accounts emphasize the bridge's atmosphere rather than a single terrifying event. Fog, shadows, and the creaking of old wood contribute to a feeling of being watched or followed. Visitors often report a cold sensation sweeping across the bridge, even on otherwise mild evenings, accompanied by the inexplicable sense that someone or something is present just beyond sight. Small objects, like leaves or sticks, are sometimes said to shift or fall, as if displaced by invisible hands. This combination of visual, auditory, and tactile phenomena makes crossing Willow Creek Bridge at night an unnerving experience. One particularly chilling encounter involved a group of friends walking across the bridge in early autumn. As they reached a midpoint, a bright lantern-like glow appeared along the tracks, accompanied by a soft whistle that seemed to circle the bridge. They watched as shadowy figures in uniform appeared behind the light, pacing carefully along the rails. When one of the friends called out, the figures froze and then dissipated into the mist. The group hurried off the bridge, shaken but unable to explain what they had witnessed. Stories like this have been recounted numerous times, with details varying but the overall pattern remaining consistent. Flickering lights, ghostly figures, and a thick, unsettling mist. Whether the events at Willow Creek Bridge are the lingering energy of tragic events, restless spirits of railroad workers, or simply the mind's interpretation of a foggy, abandoned bridge, the location continues to captivate and frighten. Its combination of historical significance, atmospheric conditions, and repeated sightings ensures that anyone who crosses the bridge after dark will feel the weight of the past. Ghostly apparitions, unexplained lights, and figures vanishing into mist all contribute to the bridge's chilling reputation, making it a magnet for those drawn to the unexplained and a reminder that some histories never fully rest. Ashwood Bridge in West Virginia spans a quiet, tree-lined section of the river valley, its steel framework and wooden supports rising over the water like a forgotten sentinel. By daylight, the bridge is a sturdy but unremarkable structure, a relic of early 20th century engineering. Yet as dusk falls and fog drifts across the river, the bridge transforms into a place of eerie mystery, drawing visitors intrigued by its haunted reputation. Locals recount ghostly figures climbing the supports, strange noises from long silent machinery, and sudden cold drafts in otherwise open areas, creating a haunting atmosphere that seems to blend the living and the spectral. The most frequently reported sightings involve apparitions that appear to move along the bridge's structural supports. Witnesses describe shadowy forms, scaling the steel beams or peering over the edges as if surveying the river below. These figures often resemble workers from an earlier era, wearing clothing and hats typical of the bridge's operational period. Some have claimed to see faces etched with determination or fear, though the details are fleeting and difficult to capture. One night, a local fisherman on the riverbank observed a figure climb the outer beams of the bridge, only to vanish as soon as he shouted for help. Such encounters suggest that these are not random shadows but lingering presences, tied to the bridge's history of construction and the many who labored on it decades ago. Strange sounds are a hallmark of Ashwood Bridge's haunting. Visitors often report the clanging of iron, the rhythmic echo of hammering, and other noises that suggest machinery in motion, even though the bridge has long been decommissioned. At times, the sounds resemble trains rolling across the deck, though no tracks have carried passengers for years. A night hiker once described hearing the creak of a pulley system, followed by the metallic squeal of a large gear turning, then the sudden silence as though the sounds had never existed. Paranormal investigators believe these auditory phenomena may be residual energy from the bridge's working days, replaying moments of labor and activity frozen in time. For those standing on or near the bridge, the combination of sounds, shadows, and history can create an overwhelming sense of the past pressing against the present. Cold drafts along the bridge add to its chilling reputation. Many who have ventured onto the structure at night report sudden drops in temperature, as if an invisible presence is brushing past them. Even on warm evenings, these cold spots can chill the bones, often occurring near the center of the bridge or along the supports where apparitions are most frequently seen. Some visitors describe feeling a physical push or pull, a light brush of something intangible, as though unseen hands are guiding them or warning them away. These tactile experiences, coupled with visual and auditory phenomena, intensify the sense that Ashwood Bridge is more than an abandoned structure. It is a locus of lingering, restless energy. The bridge's history helps explain why it might be haunted. Constructed in the early 1900s, Ashwood Bridge was part of a regional rail and transport network, connecting communities across the river valley. During its construction and subsequent use, there were numerous accidents and reported injuries, including falls from the high steel supports and mishaps with heavy machinery. Over the decades, stories of these incidents have merged with local folklore, creating a narrative that the spirits of those who suffered or died on the bridge remain tied to it. Visitors and historians alike suggest that the combination of tragedy, age, and isolation creates the conditions for persistent paranormal activity. Many who explore the bridge at night note a feeling of being watched, as if unseen eyes are following their movements along the deck and supports. Some have witnessed fleeting shadows darting across beams or caught glimpses of forms disappearing behind steel girders. Objects left on the bridge occasionally shift or topple, and some hikers report hearing whispers carried on the wind, repeating words or names that make no sense in the moment. One group of friends described a bright glow along the center of the bridge, accompanied by a low hum that seemed to resonate through the wooden planks. As they approached, the light vanished, leaving only the lingering hum and an oppressive sensation of presence. The bridge's combination of visual, auditory, and tactile phenomena creates an experience that many describe as immersive and unnerving. Unlike some haunted locations where events are sporadic, Ashwood Bridge seems to consistently provoke encounters with the unknown. Shadowy figures climbing the beams, strange mechanical sounds, and cold drafts occur with enough frequency that locals have developed an understanding of the bridge as a place where the past refuses to rest. Some visitors come seeking evidence, hoping to capture photographs, video, or audio recordings of the phenomena. Others come simply to experience the atmosphere, aware that even witnessing the subtle signs, the foggy forms, the clanging echoes, the chill in the air can be enough to leave a lasting impression. Accounts of hauntings at Ashwood Bridge vary in intensity and detail, but they share a common thread: the presence of something beyond explanation. People report seeing figures appear and vanish, hearing machinery that no longer exists, and feeling cold drafts or brushes from invisible hands. Whether these experiences are the lingering echoes of those who worked and suffered on the bridge, manifestations of energy trapped in the steel and wood, or something entirely beyond human comprehension, they are consistent enough to make Ashwood Bridge a landmark for paranormal curiosity. Ultimately, Ashwood Bridge remains a place where history, memory, and the supernatural converge. Its steel supports and wooden deck, once bustling with activity, now stand silent by day but awaken at night with shadows, sounds, and sensations that defy explanation. Ghostly figures climbing the beams, phantom machinery noises, and cold drafts in open areas ensure that anyone who dares to traverse the bridge after dark will encounter more than just the quiet of an abandoned structure. For locals and visitors alike, Ashwood Bridge is a reminder that some places carry the weight of history and that some presences never truly leave. The Red River Trestle in Texas stretches across the wide waters of the Red River, an imposing structure of steel and timber that has long stood as a sentinel over the landscape. By day, it appears as a simple relic of an earlier era of rail travel, a reminder of the railroads that once connected distant towns and cities. But by night, the trestle becomes something far more sinister and otherworldly. Locals and visitors alike report sightings of apparitions along the tracks, phantom lanterns swinging in the darkness, and voices calling out from empty spans of the bridge, creating an eerie presence that haunts anyone daring enough to venture near after dusk. Many of the reported encounters center around the trestle's long, narrow tracks. Witnesses have described shadowy figures walking along the rails, appearing solid for a moment before vanishing into thin air. Some claim these figures resemble old railroad workers, wearing period clothing and carrying tools or lanterns, as if performing tasks long forgotten. One man fishing along the riverbank reported seeing a faint glow from a lantern bobbing along the rails, accompanied by the echo of footsteps. He called out, hoping to find someone, only for the lantern to flicker and vanish, leaving him staring at empty tracks and feeling a sudden chill. Others have reported similar experiences, seeing forms that seem to move with purpose, yet vanish the moment they are approached. Phantom lanterns are a frequent feature of the trestle's hauntings. Witnesses describe glowing orbs swinging along the tracks or appearing at the edge of the bridge, casting light on the old wooden ties in a way that seems entirely unnatural. These lights are often accompanied by sounds: the creak of metal, the snap of wood, or the distant whistle of a train that never comes. Some suggest these lanterns are tied to the spirits of railroad workers who perished during construction or in accidents on the trestle. Others believe they may be residual energy, a replay of events trapped in the bridges, timbers, and steel. Regardless of explanation, the appearance of the swinging lights creates an atmosphere of tension and foreboding that few visitors can ignore. Voices are another common phenomenon reported at Red River Trestle. Many who venture near the bridge at night describe hearing calls echoing across the river. Indistinct at first, but gradually forming words or names. Some hear urgent warnings or cries for help, as though the bridge itself carries the memories of tragic events. Others report hearing conversations between invisible figures, though no one is ever present. A night photographer recounts hearing a faint dialogue while setting up his equipment, whispers of names and instructions, punctuated by the metallic clatter of a hammer striking steel. When he turned to investigate, the bridge appeared empty, leaving only the lingering sounds and an uneasy feeling that someone or something was observing him. The history of the Red River Trestle helps to contextualize these reports. Constructed in the late 1800s, the bridge was a vital link for transporting goods and passengers across Texas and beyond. Its construction was labor-intensive and dangerous, with workers often navigating narrow beams high above the river and using heavy tools and machinery. Several accidents are documented, including falls from the structure and mishaps with equipment, leading to injuries and fatalities. Local lore suggests that the spirits of those who died remain tied to the bridge, walking the rails, and swinging phantom lanterns as if continuing the work they could not finish in life. The trestle's isolation also contributes to its haunted reputation. Unlike modern bridges surrounded by development, Red River Trestle spans open land and water, surrounded by woods and fields that can obscure vision and muffle sound. The river below carries echoes of movement and speech, amplifying even the faintest noises. Visitors often report a feeling of being watched, as though unseen eyes follow their every step along the tracks. Shadows seem to shift and elongate in the lantern light, and fleeting figures appear and disappear at the edge of perception, enhancing the sense of unease. Many encounters involve multiple senses, creating an immersive experience of the paranormal. Witnesses often report seeing figures while simultaneously hearing the creak of unseen machinery or the distant whistle of a ghostly train. Cold drafts accompany these sights and sounds, brushing against the skin even in warm weather. Some hikers describe sudden drops in temperature as they approach the center of the trestle, coinciding with the appearance of apparitions or the sound of phantom voices. This combination of visual, auditory, and tactile phenomena makes Red River Trestle one of the most unsettling haunted locations in the region. Photographs and videos taken along the trestle occasionally capture unusual effects, faint lights appearing along the tracks, shadows that do not correspond to anything visible, or blurred forms that seem to move independently. While skeptics attribute these to camera artifacts or natural phenomena, the consistency of reports from multiple witnesses over decades suggests a pattern of unexplained activity. Investigators often find that the combination of history, isolation, and documented tragedies creates a setting where residual or intelligent paranormal activity is more likely to manifest. Ultimately, Red River Trestle remains a place where history, tragedy, and the unknown converge. Apparitions along the tracks, phantom lanterns swinging in the darkness, and voices carried across the river remind visitors that some places are more than the sum of their physical structures. The trestle is no longer just a bridge connecting to banks of the river. It is a liminal space, a threshold between the present and the echoes of the past. Those who dare to explore it after dark often leave with more than memories of a historic bridge. They leave with a sense that the spirits who once labored there have not fully departed, and that their presence still lingers, silently observing, whispering, and walking along the rails. Hollow Bridge in Ohio stretches across a narrow ravine, an aging iron and timber structure that has long captured the imaginations of locals and visitors alike. By day, it appears unremarkable, a relic of early railroad construction, with rusted rails and weathered beams marking the passage of decades. But by night, the bridge takes on a far more sinister presence, as reports of paranormal activity have long fueled its reputation as one of the state's most haunted structures. shadowy figures walking alongside the rails, flickering lights hovering above the beams, and unexplained banging and clanging sounds have all been reported by those daring enough to venture near the bridge after dark. One of the most frequently reported phenomena is the appearance of shadowy figures. Visitors recount seeing dark shapes moving along the length of the rails, sometimes walking with a sense of purpose, other times appearing to drift aimlessly. These forms often resemble railroad workers from the early 20th century, wearing overalls and caps, sometimes carrying tools as if performing tasks that date back decades. Witnesses describe a sudden chill accompanying these sightings, as though the very air along the bridge grows colder in the presence of these apparitions. A local hiker once recounted stepping onto the bridge at twilight and seeing a figure leaning over the edge, inspecting the ravine below. When he called out, the figure vanished into darkness, leaving only an eerie silence in its wake. Flickering lights are another hallmark of Hollow Bridge's hauntings. Numerous accounts describe orbs or lantern-like glows appearing above the beams, moving back and forth as if swinging in the night air. Some visitors report seeing these lights rise and fall in a manner that suggests intelligence, almost as if they are guiding someone or searching for something. One photographer set up a long-exposure camera to capture images of the bridge at night, hoping to document the moonlight and reflections on the water. Locals say these flickering illuminations may be the spirits of workers who perished during construction or maintenance accidents, eternally retracing steps along the bridge. Unexplained banging and clanging sounds further enhance the sense of unease around Hollow Bridge. Visitors have described hearing the metallic echo of tools striking steel, the sharp report of bolts being hammered into place, and the rhythmic thud of heavy footsteps along the wooden beams. These sounds often come from sections of the bridge where no one is present, sometimes appearing to follow those crossing the rails. One night, a group of teenagers dared each other to walk the full length of the bridge. As they neared the midpoint, a series of loud clangs echoed from above them, prompting panic and a rush back to solid ground. No animals, vehicles, or natural sources could account for the noises, leaving only the eerie possibility that the bridge itself was alive with echoes of its past. The history of Hollow Bridge helps explain why it might attract such phenomena. Built in the early 1900s, the structure served as a critical railroad link for freight and passenger trains. Construction was arduous and dangerous, with workers often navigating narrow beams high above the ravine. Accidents were frequent, and several fatalities were documented. Over the decades, maintenance was sporadic, and some reports suggest that entire crews disappeared during night repairs, their bodies never recovered. Local lore holds that these tragic events left lingering energy imprinted onto the bridge's structure, which now manifests as apparitions, lights, and sounds. Isolation contributes to the haunting. The bridge spans a sparsely populated area, surrounded by woods and steep embankments that muffle sound and obscure vision. At night, the river below and the dark tree line amplify even minor noises, creating an almost tangible sense of being observed. Many visitors describe an oppressive feeling as they step onto the bridge, a sense that unseen eyes are tracking their movements. Shadows shift unnaturally, and figures appear at the edge of perception, vanishing the moment one tries to focus on them. This combination of visual, auditory, and atmospheric phenomena makes Hollow Bridge an unsettling destination for anyone seeking more than just a scenic view. Multiple senses are often engaged during reported encounters. Witnesses may see a dark figure leaning over the rails, hear the echoing clang of phantom hammers, and feel sudden cold drafts all at once. One paranormal investigator described a night spent on the bridge using thermal cameras and audio recorders. He reported capturing anomalous heat signatures moving along the tracks and intermittent sounds resembling hammering and footsteps, yet no living person was ever present. Such experiences suggest a layered haunting, where visual, auditory, and even tactile elements combine to create an immersive and terrifying phenomenon. Photographs and videos sometimes reveal unusual effects. Long exposures can capture faint streaks of light, translucent figures, or shadows that do not correspond to any object in the environment. while skeptics argue these images are the result of camera artifacts or reflections. The frequency and consistency of reports from multiple witnesses over decades suggest a pattern of unexplained activity. Investigators often point to a combination of historical tragedy, isolation, and the unique architecture of the bridge as factors that make Hollow Bridge a hotspot for paranormal occurrences. Ultimately, Hollow Bridge stands as a monument to both history and the unexplained. Shadowy figures walking along the rails, flickering lights above the beams, and unexplained metallic sounds create a haunting atmosphere that cannot be ignored. Visitors often leave with more than memories of a historic bridge. They leave with a sense of lingering presence, a feeling that those who once labored, suffered, or vanished here have not truly departed. Hollow Bridge is more than iron and timber. It is a liminal space where past and present collide, where the echoes of tragedy continue to manifest in ways both terrifying and mysterious, silently, reminding all who cross it that some places are never truly empty. Stone Creek Bridge in Pennsylvania is an old railroad trestle that stretches over a narrow, wooded creek. Its iron girders and wooden planks weathered by more than a century of rain, snow, and seasonal floods. By day, it appears unassuming, a relic of a bygone era when steam engines and freight trains rumbled along its tracks. But by night, Stone Creek Bridge takes on a far more unsettling presence, drawing in the curious and the brave alike with stories of phantom workers, unexplained cold pockets, and unseen presences moving across its span. The bridge, locals insist, is alive with echoes of the past, where human labor, tragedy, and time have left their lingering marks. The most commonly reported phenomenon is the sight of phantom workers. Multiple witnesses describe shadowy figures climbing the trestles, appearing as if engaged in some forgotten task. These figures are often seen wearing early 20th century work clothing, caps, overalls, and sturdy boots, and they seem to move with a deliberate, methodical purpose. Some appear to be hammering at the rails or inspecting beams, but no sound accompanies their labor. One hiker recounted seeing a man walking across the bridge with a lantern, disappearing entirely when the hiker approached, leaving only a faint outline in the mist hovering above the wooden planks. Locals claim these apparitions are the spirits of construction crews who perished during the bridge's early days, eternally retracing the steps of their final work. Cold pockets are another frequent experience for those who venture onto Stone Creek Bridge at night. These sudden drops in temperature can occur without warning, often localized to a single area of the bridge. Witnesses report that stepping into these pockets causes a visible shiver and a feeling of dread, as if unseen eyes are watching from the darkness. Paranormal enthusiasts suggest that these cold spots are indicative of residual energy left behind by past events, workers who fell, accidents that occurred in the early hours, and laborers long forgotten. Hikers and ghost hunters alike speak of the sensation as oppressive, a weight on the shoulders that seems almost physical, as though the bridge itself is exhaling its history into the present. Unseen presences moving across the bridge contribute to its eerie reputation. Several visitors have described sensations of being followed or touched, even when no one else is present. Footsteps echo along the tracks at night, sometimes pacing, sometimes running, with no source visible. Some claim to feel the brush of a passing figure, or hear whispers carried on the wind, fragments of conversation from decades past. One couple visiting the bridge at midnight reported hearing the unmistakable sound of heavy boots trudging along the wooden beams just behind them. When they turned, nothing was there, yet the footsteps continued for several seconds before fading into silence. The bridge's history helps explain why so many reports involve the dead or the restless. Built in the early 1900s to carry freight trains across the creek and surrounding lowlands, Stone Creek Bridge was a vital transportation link. Construction was dangerous, requiring workers to navigate narrow beams high above the water. Accidents were common, and historical records indicate that several laborers died during construction or maintenance work, some falling into the creek below, others crushed by falling timber or machinery. Over the years, More incidents occurred as trains crossed the trestle in all weather conditions, further cementing the bridge's dark legacy. Locals believe that the spirits of these workers have imprinted themselves onto the bridge, returning repeatedly to occupy the spaces they once labored in life. Isolation plays a critical role in the haunting. The bridge is surrounded by thick woods, steep embankments, and the meandering creek, which together muffle outside sounds and obscure vision. This sense of seclusion heightens the perception of movement and sound. One night, a small group of paranormal investigators set up thermal cameras and audio recorders across the bridge. They reported capturing shadowy heat signatures moving along the trestles and intermittent sounds resembling hammering and footsteps. Yet no living person was present. The investigators noted sudden drops in temperature that corresponded with the sightings of moving shadows, reinforcing the reports of cold pockets associated with paranormal activity. Visual and auditory phenomena often coincide, creating a fully immersive haunting experience. Visitors may see a phantom worker hammering at a beam, hear a metallic clang echo across the structure, and simultaneously feel a cold draft brush their neck. Some accounts mention spectral lanterns floating along the bridge at irregular intervals, their flickering light moving without any discernible source. Long exposure photography sometimes captures faint streaks of light, hazy silhouettes, and shadows that vanish when one tries to focus on them, suggesting that the bridge's apparitions are not merely figments of imagination. Stone Creek Bridge also draws thrill seekers, ghost hunters, and urban explorers intrigued by its haunted reputation. Many report leaving with more than just photographs or recordings. They leave with an uneasy sense that the bridge is more than iron and wood. Shadowy figures, flickering lights, and chilling cold spots create an atmosphere where the past feels vividly alive. Locals often caution visitors to respect the bridge, warning that those who venture without heed may feel the lingering presence of laborers who never left. Workers whose final steps are eternally replayed along the rails. Ultimately, Stone Creek Bridge is a place where history and the unexplained intertwine. Phantom workers climbing trestles, cold pockets appearing without cause, and unseen presences moving across the bridge paint a portrait of lingering energy and unfinished business. For those who visit at night, the bridge is more than a crossing over a creek. Is a threshold between the present and echoes of a long-past era, where the hard labor accidents and mysteries of generations past remain etched into the very beams and rails. Shadowy figures still walk its length, cold drafts still rise from nowhere, and the bridge continues to hold secrets that may never be fully revealed. Stone Creek Bridge is not just a structure. It is a repository of memory, tragedy, and lingering presence. Those who tread its path after dark often feel they are stepping into a space that is alive, a corridor through time, where the past has not completely faded, and where the unseen continues to watch, whisper, and move silently, reminding all who cross that some places are never truly empty. Silver Trestle in Michigan is an imposing railroad bridge spanning a deep valley. Its steel girders, stretching high above the forest floor, and reflecting decades of Michigan's industrial past. By day, it appears as a testament to engineering, a place where sunlight gleams off rusting rails and wooden planks. But by night, Silver Trestle transforms into something far more mysterious. Locals, travelers, and ghost hunters alike report shadowy figures, flickering lights, and the haunting echo of phantom train horns that carry through the valley like whispers from a bygone era. These phenomena have made the trestle a magnet for those drawn to the unexplained and the spectral. The most frequent accounts involve shadowy figures moving across the trestle. Witnesses often describe shapes appearing suddenly in the beams and on the tracks, figures that resemble railroad workers from the early 1900s. These shadows sometimes appear to be performing tasks adjusting rails, carrying tools, or walking with a sense of purpose, but vanish when approached. One hiker recounted seeing a man in overalls and a cap pacing along the bridge at night. When the witness called out, the figure disappeared into thin air, leaving only the faint outline of his presence lingering in the moonlight. Locals believe these shadows are the remnants of workers who built and maintained the trestle. their spirits lingering to replay the routines of a life once bound to the rails. Flickering lights are another common phenomenon. Visitors often report small, irregular flashes along the bridge at night, as though lanterns or lamps are moving from one end to the other. The lights appear without any source, sometimes dim and distant, sometimes bright enough to illuminate the structure's steel beams. Paranormal investigators suggest that these lights are manifestations of residual energy tied to events that occurred on the trestle long ago. Hikers have described following the light with a flashlight, only to find empty tracks and beams where the glow had seemed to originate. The eerie illumination often coincides with the sudden sense of being watched, or the appearance of a shadowy figure that disappears as soon as it is noticed. Perhaps the most unnerving reports involve phantom train horns. On quiet nights, witnesses claim to hear the distant blare of a train approaching, followed by the metallic rumble of wheels on rails. The sounds echo throughout the valley, yet no train is ever seen. Some say the horns mimic the exact notes of engines from a century ago, complete with the timing and cadence of long-abandoned locomotives. One local family reported sitting near the trestle when a deep, resonant horn sounded, vibrating through the valley and causing the ground to feel alive beneath them. They rushed to the tracks to find nothing, no engine, no light, only the lingering echo of a sound that felt impossibly real. Experts in paranormal studies suggest that these auditory phenomena are tied to traumatic events, including derailments, construction accidents, and the daily hazards of rail work that left a residual imprint on the structure. The trestle's history supports these reports. Built in the early 1900s to accommodate the increasing demand for freight transport across northern Michigan, the structure was notorious for its difficult construction. Workers faced harsh weather, treacherous heights, and unstable scaffolding, leading to numerous accidents. Over time, more incidents occurred as trains crossed the bridge in fog, rain, or snow. Stories of workers falling to their deaths or being struck by shifting equipment became local legend. Visitors also report physical sensations alongside visual and auditory phenomena. Cold drafts sweep across the tracks without any wind, often concentrated in isolated pockets along the bridge. Hikers have described sudden chills when a shadow passes nearby, or when the faint light of a phantom lantern flickers across the rails. Some report a feeling of weight or pressure, as though unseen presences are walking beside or behind them. Others recount hearing whispered voices carried on the wind, faint words that cannot be fully understood but convey urgency or warning. These experiences add to the bridge's reputation as a site of lingering energy and spectral presence. Exploration of the trestle at night is not without risk, both physical and psychological. The height of the bridge, combined with its isolation, can make even experienced hikers uneasy. Paranormal enthusiasts, drawn by the chance to witness these unusual occurrences, often bring cameras, audio recorders, and thermal imaging equipment. Many report capturing anomalies, streaks of light that appear to move along the tracks, hazy silhouettes that vanish upon approach, and cold spots registering on infrared thermometers. Some claim that video footage occasionally shows faint shapes on the bridge that cannot be explained by reflections or shadows, supporting eyewitness accounts of ghostly figures and movements. Silver Trestle has thus become a place where history, tragedy, and the unexplained intersect. Shadowy figures climbing the rails, flickering lights at night, and phantom train horns echoing through the valley create a haunting atmosphere where the past seems vividly alive. Local lore warns of the trestle's restless spirits, suggesting that visitors should respect the bridge and its history. For those who cross, it may feel the lingering presence of workers who never left or locomotives that continue their endless journey in the shadows. Ultimately, Silver Trestle is more than just a bridge. It is a corridor of memory, a structure where human labor, accidents, and industrial progress have left lingering impressions. Shadowy workers move along the rails, lanterns flicker without source, and phantom horns sound across the valley, creating a space where the line between past and present is blurred. For those who tread its planks after dark, the trestle is not just a physical crossing, but a threshold into history and the unknown. The bridge stands as a silent witness to decades of toil, danger, and lingering mystery, and visitors cannot help but feel that its spirits continue to watch, move, and echo, even in the still of the night. Cedar Hollow Bridge, spanning a narrow creek in upstate New York, has long drawn the attention of both locals and paranormal enthusiasts. Its steel framework, now weathered and streaked with rust, stands as a silent witness to decades of passing trains, local traffic, and untold stories. But it is not the bridge's age or architecture that draws people. It is the lingering sense of something unseen, a presence that many claim crosses the span alongside them. Visitors report ghostly apparitions appearing on the deck, unexplained footsteps, and strange sounds of rails creaking long after the trains have stopped running. Those who have walked Cedar Hollow Bridge at night often describe an eerie stillness that seems almost unnatural. Even in the dead of winter, when snow dampens most sound, the bridge carries noises that cannot be easily explained. Some say they have heard the metallic groan of rails as if a train were approaching, only to see the tracks empty. Others recount the soft echo of footsteps behind them, quickening and slowing, matching their own pace but vanishing when they turn to look. It is this combination of auditory and visual phenomena that has given the bridge its haunted reputation. Several accounts suggest that the bridge is tied to tragic events from the past. Local historians note that in the early 20th century, Cedar Hollow was a hub for rail transport, and the bridge often carried heavy freight trains through the small valley. Over the decades, there were numerous accidents, including a derailment in 1924 that claimed the lives of several workers who were repairing the tracks. Stories passed down through generations speak of men who never left the bridge, their spirits bound to the iron and steel they had walked across every day. Some believe that these restless souls are the source of the spectral activity, their presence lingering in the place where their lives ended. Witnesses often describe the apparitions in vague but unsettling detail. Some see shadowy figures leaning against the railings, their forms dark and indistinct, as if cloaked in a perpetual fog. Others claim to glimpse more defined shapes, men in early 20th century work clothes, their expressions etched with sorrow or urgency on particularly foggy nights. Observers report seeing entire scenes play out, workers moving across the tracks, placing beams, adjusting rails, only for the vision to vanish when approached. The apparitions are rarely threatening, yet their sudden appearance and disappearance leave an indelible impression of unease. The sounds reported on Cedar Hollow Bridge add another layer to its mystique. The rails, worn and weathered, are said to creak and moan in patterns that mimic a train rolling across them. Some visitors swear they can hear the whistle of a long-past locomotive echoing faintly across the hollow, accompanied by the rhythmic clatter of wheels on iron. Others describe more subtle human sounds, whispers that float through the mist, murmuring in a language or dialect difficult to place, or the distinct metallic click of a spade striking wood as if someone were maintaining the bridge long after its official abandonment. Paranormal investigators often bring recording devices to capture these anomalies, though playback frequently offers more questions than answers. Often, what is recorded does not match what the human ear hears, amplifying the sense that the bridge is a threshold between the present and the echoes of the past. Visitors' experiences on Cedar Hollow Bridge are not limited to sight and sound. Many report a sudden drop in temperature as they step onto the deck, as if the air itself has been chilled by unseen hands. Some feel a presence close by, brushing against them or standing just beyond the reach of a flashlight beam. A few claim that, when alone, they have been touched lightly, almost imperceptibly, but enough to make the skin crawl and hearts race. Others say they have been followed along the length of the bridge by a sensation of being watched, a feeling that persists even after leaving the structure. These physical sensations, coupled with the apparitions and sounds, reinforce the bridge's reputation as a site of supernatural activity. Local legend has further fueled the haunted lore. Residents tell of Cedar Hollow Bridge as a place of both mystery and warning. Some speak of motorists and pedestrians who experienced unexplained delays or misfortunes when crossing, attributing it to the restless spirits that inhabit the bridge. Stories circulate of travelers who turned their backs for a moment and felt a sudden chilling wind, only to find shadowy figures standing silently along the railing. Others recount hearing the distant sound of a train horn at night. Though the tracks have not carried freight or passengers in decades, these tales, passed from generation to generation, have become intertwined with the bridge itself, making it more than a simple crossing over a creek. It is a focal point for both history and the unexplained. Paranormal enthusiasts often visit Cedar Hollow Bridge armed with cameras, EMF detectors, and audio recorders, hoping to capture evidence of the supernatural. While some dismiss the experiences as tricks of the mind or the natural acoustics of a metal structure, many claim to have captured inexplicable anomalies. Shadows caught on film, distant voices recorded when no one else was present, and fleeting glimpses of figures vanish too quickly for rational explanation. Each of these incidents adds layers to the legend, compelling more people to come, not only to witness but also to be part of the ongoing narrative of the bridge. Despite or, perhaps, because of its eerie reputation, Cedar Hollow Bridge has become a destination for those intrigued by the paranormal. It is not uncommon to see small groups of people, flashlights in hand, cautiously traversing its span at dusk or under a full moon. Some come for the thrill, others for reflection, drawn by the stories of those who came before. The bridge's isolation and the quiet of the surrounding hollow make every creak and whisper more pronounced, turning an ordinary walk into an encounter with the unknown. Even seasoned investigators often leave with a sense of awe and unease, convinced that Cedar Hollow Bridge is more than just steel and stone. It is a place where the past lingers, where tragedy and memory have taken on a spectral form. Cedar Hollow Bridge remains a haunting presence in upstate New York, its structure standing as both a relic of industrial history and a stage for the unexplained. Visitors continue to report ghostly figures, mysterious sounds, and sudden chills, each encounter reinforcing the bridge's reputation as a place where the veil between the living and the dead feels thin. For those willing to step onto its creaking deck, the bridge offers a glimpse into a past that refuses to fade. A reminder that some histories linger, not only in books and photographs, but in the shadows and whispers that haunt the spaces they once occupied. In this hollow, the bridge is more than a crossing. It is a bridge between worlds. A place where the echoes of lives long gone continue to reach out to those who dare to listen. Ironwood Bridge, stretching over the calm waters of a small Illinois river, is an imposing structure of steel and rivets, standing as a testament to the industrious spirit of its builders. Yet beneath its functional facade lies a darker reputation. For decades, locals have whispered about strange occurrences on and around the bridge, phantom workers appearing along its beams, footsteps echoing across empty decks, and voices carried by the wind that seem to speak of unfinished work and lingering regret. These stories trace back to the bridge's construction in the early 1900s, a period when safety measures were rudimentary and tragic accidents were far too common. Historical records indicate that the building of Ironwood Bridge was plagued by misfortune. Several laborers fell from the high steel framework, some losing their lives in gruesome accidents that shocked the small nearby communities. The grueling work, performed at dizzying heights with heavy tools and little protective equipment, left an indelible mark on both the living and the dead. It is said that some of the men who perished never truly left the bridge, their spirits tethered to the steel they once toiled upon. Over the years, countless witnesses have come forward, claiming encounters that defy conventional explanation, reinforcing the bridge's haunted reputation. Visitors to Ironwood Bridge often describe the experience as unnervingly tangible. On quiet nights, when the wind rustles through the trees lining the riverbanks, some claim to hear the distant clang of hammers and the murmur of voices that seem to call out names or issue unfinished instructions. The sounds are sometimes accompanied by sudden chills or the sensation of being observed by unseen eyes. Those who have walked the bridge at night frequently report phantom footsteps following closely behind, pacing in rhythm with their own steps, yet vanishing whenever they turn to confront them. The combination of sight, sound, and sensation creates an atmosphere thick with unease. leaving many to wonder if the spirits of past workers are trapped in an eternal loop of labor. Ghostly figures are among the most commonly reported phenomena on Ironwood Bridge. Eyewitnesses describe seeing men in early 20th century work clothes, complete with helmets and tool belts, moving along the railings or crouched over beams as if completing tasks invisible to the living. The figures rarely interact directly with those who see them, but their sudden appearance can startle even the most skeptical visitor. The bridge's haunting extends beyond visual phenomena. Unexplained voices are frequently reported by those near the structure, carried on the wind in tones that sound urgent or sorrowful. Some hear whispered conversations that seem to recount specific events from the bridge's construction, while others hear shouted commands, warning, or laughter that abruptly ceases. Paranormal investigators often attempt to capture these sounds using audio equipment. Yet recordings frequently pick up anomalies not audible to the naked ear. Some record faint murmurs, indistinct words, or low-frequency vibrations that create an uncanny sense of presence, reinforcing the bridge's reputation as a site where the past refuses to remain silent. A sudden drop in temperature is common, with the air feeling colder than the surrounding environment, as if the bridge itself absorbs warmth from those who step onto its deck. Some visitors report feeling brushes against their arms or shoulders, fleeting touches that leave no mark but provoke a profound sense of being watched. Others recount moments of dizziness or disorientation while standing in specific areas, particularly near the central beams or along the edges where workers once labored. These unexplained reactions lend weight to the idea that the bridge is not merely haunted in legend, but experienced tangibly by those who venture onto it. Local folklore has grown around these phenomena, turning Ironwood Bridge into a site of both fascination and caution. Residents warn travelers to respect the structure, particularly at night or during foggy conditions, when visibility is low and the haunting seems strongest. Tales of people being followed by unseen workers or hearing their names called from the steel have circulated for generations. Some accounts tell of motorists who noticed shadowy figures near the entrance to the bridge, disappearing once the vehicle approached, or pedestrians who felt compelled to hurry across as if urged by unseen hands. These stories, repeated over time, have cemented the bridge rest's reputation as a liminal space where the boundary between the living and the dead feels thin. Paranormal enthusiasts are drawn to Ironwood Bridge, armed with cameras, audio recorders, and electromagnetic field detectors. Many come hoping to document evidence of the supernatural, while others seek a personal experience of the unexplained. Even those skeptical of ghosts frequently leave unsettled, struck by the weight of history and the palpable sense of lingering labor. The bridge's isolation, combined with the natural acoustics of steel and river currents, amplifies the effect, making every creak and whisper more pronounced. Despite the eerie reputation, Ironwood Bridge remains a functional part of the local landscape, used by pedestrians and light traffic during the day. Yet it is the nighttime visitors and those willing to linger after dark who experience its most unsettling features. For them, the bridge is not just a crossing over water, but a portal into the past, where the echoes of construction accidents and the memories of lost workers are embedded in every beam and rivet. The apparitions, footsteps, and unexplained voices create a living history, a story told through sensation and sight rather than written records. Ironwood Bridge, with its rusted steel and quiet spans, continues to captivate those interested in the paranormal. It is a place where history, tragedy, and the unexplained converge, offering a chilling reminder that the past can linger long after the final nail is driven. Visitors, whether seeking thrills or simply curious, leave with the impression that the bridge is more than just a structure of iron and bolts. It is a stage for the stories of those who built it, a place where labor, life, and death intersect. In the quiet creaking rhythm of the rails, each step across its deck becomes a journey through memory and mystery, a haunting that persists in the wind, the shadows, and the faint echo of phantom footsteps. Blue River Trestle, spanning the winding waters of Missouri's Blue River, is more than just an engineering feat. Rising high above the rippling currents, its steel girders and wooden ties stretch across the landscape, a relic of an era when railroads connected small towns and industries thrived along the riverbanks. Yet for decades, the trestle has been shrouded in tales of the unexplained. Witnesses recount shadowy figures walking near the river below, flickering lights dancing across the beams, and ghostly silhouettes that vanish as quickly as they appear, leaving a lingering sense of unease for those who venture near. The history of Blue River Trestle is intertwined with both triumph and tragedy. Constructed in the early 1900s to support a vital rail line, the bridge played a central role in local commerce, transporting timber, coal, and agricultural goods. Its construction, however, was perilous. Workers labored at dizzying heights, often with rudimentary safety equipment, and accidents were frequent. Historical records detailed incidents ranging from falls to mishaps with heavy machinery. Some men never returned home, their lives cut short in the shadow of the trestle. Locals believe that these deaths left behind restless spirits, bound to the bridge and the river it crosses. Over the years, these stories have grown into the spectral legends that now surround the structure. Visitors approaching Blue River Trestle often report an immediate shift in atmosphere. The air near the river is said to grow cooler, heavier, as if carrying the weight of past events. Many recount seeing flickering lights along the trestle at night, tiny glimmers that appear and disappear without explanation. Some describe these lights as lanterns, others as glowing orbs, moving along the structure or hovering just above the water. Those who attempt to approach often find the lights vanish, leaving only darkness and the faint echo of the river below. The experience is unsettling enough that even seasoned explorers often hesitate before crossing or lingering near the bridge after sunset. The trestle is also famous for its shadowy figures. Witnesses describe shapes moving along the riverbank or climbing along the lower supports of the bridge. These figures are often indistinct, appearing as dark silhouettes against the night sky or the reflective surface of the river. In some accounts, the shadows resemble people dressed in early 20th century work clothes, carrying tools or moving with purpose. Observers have reported seeing them pause and glance toward the trestle, as if aware of the living nearby, before dissolving into the darkness. Such sightings are unpredictable and fleeting, yet they leave a lasting impression, suggesting a connection between the present and the spectral echoes of the past. Sounds accompanying the visuals add another layer of mystery. Those near the trestle frequently report hearing footsteps along the wooden beams above, even when no one is present. Some claim to hear distant voices carried by the wind, speaking in low tones or urgent whispers, and occasionally the metallic clatter of tools striking iron. The river itself seems to carry these sounds, amplifying them in unexpected ways. The combination of auditory and visual phenomena has made Blue River Trestle a focal point for both ghost enthusiasts and those simply curious about the unknown. Physical sensations are a common part of the experience at the trestle. Many visitors describe sudden chills or a feeling of being watched, particularly when standing near the center of the structure or along the river's edge. Some have reported faint touches, as if someone brushed past them in the dark, while others experience a pressure in the chest or the unsettling impression that unseen eyes are tracking every movement. Even those who approach the trestle during the day sometimes feel the presence of something lingering, a reminder that the haunting is not confined to the cover of night. Local folklore has amplified the bridge's eerie reputation. Stories circulate of travelers who, while crossing the trestle, have seen figures standing on the beams or moving along the riverbank, vanishing when approached. Fishermen and hikers recount seeing apparitions of men in old-fashioned clothing, pausing mid-step before dissolving into shadow. Some even claim that animals avoid certain areas near the trestle, shying away from unseen presences. These tales, shared over generations, have intertwined with the bridge itself, making it a landmark of both engineering and the unexplained. Paranormal investigators are frequently drawn to Blue River Trestle, equipped with cameras, audio recorders, and other devices meant to capture evidence of the supernatural. Many report anomalies, such as orbs of light caught on film, strange shadows crossing the camera frame, or audio capturing whispers or footsteps when no living person is present. Even skeptics often leave with a sense of unease, struck by the combination of the trestle's history, its isolated location, and the persistent reports of strange phenomena. For them, the bridge represents a space where the past and present collide, where memory, tragedy, and legend manifest in ways both subtle and profound. Despite its haunting reputation, Blue River Trestle remains an active part of the landscape, occasionally used for light rail traffic, though mostly it stands in quiet prominence over the river. Those who cross it during the day may notice nothing out of the ordinary. Yet come nightfall, the trestle transforms into a stage for the unexplained. The flickering lights, shadowy figures, and ephemeral sounds turn a simple river crossing into a journey through history and mystery. The bridge's structure, its steel girders, wooden ties, and towering support serves as both a physical pathway and a symbolic threshold between the living and the lingering spirits of the past. Blue River Trestle continues to captivate visitors, drawing those intrigued by history, tragedy, and the paranormal. Its ghostly legends figures along the river, lights that vanish instantly, and whispers carried on the wind invite reflection on the lives once lived and lost in its shadow. Each encounter, whether fleeting or prolonged, adds to the trestle story, ensuring that the haunting remains part of the local consciousness. For those willing to approach, the bridge is not merely a crossing over water, but a crossing through time, where the past lingers, visible and audible to anyone who dares to pay attention. Here, history and mystery coexist, making Blue River Trestle one of Missouri's most enigmatic and haunting landmarks. Willow Trestle, a long-forgotten rail bridge tucked deep within Ohio's wooded landscapes, has earned a reputation that stretches far beyond its original purpose. Once a bustling conduit for trains carrying goods and passengers across the winding river below, the trestle now stands mostly abandoned, its wooden beams weathered and creaking, its iron framework rusting with age. These phenomena have made Willow Trestle a focal point for those drawn to the paranormal, blending the tangible history of Ohio's industrial past with the ethereal echoes of the unexplained. Historical accounts indicate that Willow Trestle was constructed in the late 19th century, during a time when railroads were rapidly expanding across the Midwest. The bridge carried both freight and passenger lines, connecting small towns and fostering commerce in an era when travel was far less predictable than it is today. Its construction, however, was fraught with danger. Laborers worked at dizzying heights, often on wooden planks, over a rushing river, with only rudimentary safety measures in place. Accidents were common, and the records mention several fatalities from falls, missteps, or equipment failure. Some locals believe that the spirits of these workers never left the trestle, lingering in the shadows of the beams they once climbed, bound to the site of their sudden deaths. Those who venture to Willow Trestle report an unsettling atmosphere even before they step onto its deck. The surrounding forest seems to hush in anticipation. The river below, carrying the sounds of water and wind, but masking other noises that are harder to explain. Visitors frequently report sudden cold spots, often localized near certain beams or sections of the deck. The chill is more than a simple drop in temperature. It carries with it a sense of presence, as if something unseen is observing or approaching. Many describe the feeling as almost physical, a brush of air that carries weight and intent, leaving hairs raised and hearts racing. Apparitions are among the most commonly reported phenomena. People have described seeing figures leaning against the old beams, dressed in work clothes reminiscent of the late 1800s or early 1900s. These ghostly laborers appear silently, sometimes glancing toward visitors before vanishing into the shadows. Their appearances are brief yet vivid, leaving a lingering impression long after they are gone. Witnesses often report that the figures seem to be going about their work, adjusting invisible rails, inspecting beams, or pacing along the deck, as though trapped in a perpetual routine from another era. Some claim to have seen groups of apparitions moving in coordinated motions, reminiscent of a workforce from the past, before fading into nothingness when approached. Ghostly lanterns add another dimension to the haunting of Willow Trestle. Observers report seeing small lights moving along the deck or between the beams, flickering with no discernible source. Some describe the lanterns as swinging gently, as if held by unseen hands, while others appear to drift slowly across the trestle, illuminating glimpses of the wooden planks or the silhouettes of shadowy figures. The lights often vanish when anyone approaches or shines a flashlight in their direction, leaving the deck in darkness and the mind grappling with the reality of what was just seen. These lanterns, combined with the apparitions, create a sense of narrativa, story of labor, presence, and memory frozen in time, yet somehow visible to those who dare to look. Sounds are also frequently reported. Visitors often hear footsteps echoing along the trestle, matching the rhythm of their own steps or appearing independently, as if another person is walking nearby. Some hear soft murmurs, indistinct voices carried on the wind, or the creak of wooden beams under unseen weight. The sounds are especially pronounced at night, when the surrounding woods amplify every creak, snap, and rustle. Many have described moments when the noises stop abruptly, leaving an eerie silence that feels charged with expectation, as though the bridge itself is holding its breath. Physical sensations accompany these auditory and visual experiences. Many visitors report a sensation of being touched, lightly brushed on the shoulder or arm, even when no one else is present. Others experience a sense of being followed, an awareness of unseen eyes tracking them along the deck. Some have felt disoriented or dizzy in specific areas, often near the center of the trestle or close to the river's edge, where the apparitions and lanterns are most frequently observed. These sensations reinforce the idea that Willow Trestle is not only haunted by memory but also by a tangible presence that interacts with those who venture near. Local folklore has grown alongside these experiences. Tales of travelers encountering ghostly figures or lights along the trestle are shared among residents, and the bridge has become a landmark for both historical interest and supernatural intrigue. Some accounts speak of people who hesitated to cross, feeling an inexplicable force urging them to move along, or of fishermen and hikers glimpsing shadowy forms along the riverbanks that vanish when approached. The legends serve both as warnings and invitations, creating a mystique that draws curious visitors from across the region. Paranormal investigators often arrive equipped with cameras, audio recorders, and electromagnetic field detectors, hoping to capture proof of the supernatural. Many report anomalies, shadowy forms caught on film, faint footsteps recorded when no one is present, or disembodied whispers captured in audio playback. Even skeptics leave unsettled, confronted by the combination of historical tragedy, isolation, and persistent reports of strange occurrences. For them, Willow Trestle becomes a place where history, legend, and the unexplained converge in ways that are both subtle and profound. Despite its haunting reputation, Willow Trestle remains a fixture of Ohio's landscape. Though the trains no longer run and maintenance is minimal, the bridge endures, weathered but intact, a tangible reminder of the labor, lives, and stories that shaped it. For those who approach after dark, the deck becomes more than a walkway, becomes a space where the past reaches out through shadow and light, where apparitions lean silently on old beams. Ghostly lanterns drift across the timber, and sudden cold spots serve as a reminder that history lingers visible and felt to anyone willing to notice. In the quiet and isolation of Willow Trestle, the living and the departed meet briefly, suspended in the haunting rhythm of an abandoned structure that refuses to be forgotten. Crescent River Bridge, stretching across the winding waters of a Pennsylvania river, has long been a place of both beauty and unease. Its steel girders rise high above the currents below, supporting a rail line that once connected small towns and industries along the riverbanks. Today, while some trains still pass sporadically, the bridge has gained a reputation that draws visitors for reasons other than transportation. Locals report ghostly figures pacing the rails, flickering lights along the walkway, and phantom sounds of trains approaching, creating a haunting atmosphere that has persisted for decades. The history of Crescent River Bridge is deeply intertwined with both progress and tragedy. Constructed in the late 19th century, the bridge played a crucial role in Pennsylvania's growing railroad network. Freight trains carried coal, timber, and manufactured goods across its steel framework, while passenger trains connected communities along the river. Its construction, however, was far from safe. Laborers worked at dizzying heights with rudimentary scaffolding and minimal safety equipment. Accidents were frequent. Several men fell to their deaths during the building of the bridge, while others were injured by malfunctioning machinery or collapsing beams. Many locals believed that the spirits of these workers never left, remaining bound to the bridge they helped construct. Visitors to Crescent River Bridge often report an immediate sense of stillness, a quiet that feels heavier than normal. The river below flows calmly, reflecting the steel beams in rippling light. Yet there is an unnatural hush in the surrounding air. On many nights, witnesses describe seeing figures pacing along the rails, moving with a deliberate rhythm, as if performing tasks long forgotten. These apparitions are often dressed in work clothes from the late 1800s or early 1900s, with some appearing to carry tools or lanterns. Observers say the figures are usually distant at first, visible only as shadows, but they sometimes move closer, vanishing when approached or illuminated by a flashlight. The sudden disappearance of these forms adds to the sense that the bridge is a place where the past remains very much alive. Flickering lights are another frequent phenomenon. Witnesses describe small, glowing orbs that drift along the walkway or sway along the rails, sometimes resembling lanterns carried by unseen hands. The lights often appear and vanish without warning, casting brief illuminations on the deck and steel beams. Some report that the lanterns mimic the movements of workers who once labored there, moving rhythmically along the rails, pausing briefly, then disappearing into the darkness. These ghostly illuminations add an otherworldly quality to the bridge, making it seem alive with memory and the lingering presence of those who once walked its length. Phantom train sounds are also reported with surprising frequency. Observers have described hearing the rhythmic clatter of wheels against rails, the distant whistle of a locomotive, and the low rumble of metal straining under weight, all when no train is in sight. Sometimes these sounds seem to approach, grow louder, and then fade abruptly, leaving only silence and a subtle vibration beneath the feet. Some witnesses claim that the noises are accompanied by the sensation of movement, as though the bridge itself is responding to unseen traffic. Paranormal investigators often attempt to record these sounds, but playback frequently reveals anomalies that do not match human perception, such as distant hums, creaking metal, and faint voices that were not audible during the experience. Physical sensations often accompany these visual and auditory phenomena. Many visitors report sudden cold spots, where the temperature drops dramatically within a small area. Others feel the brush of a hand or the light pressure of something passing close by, even when they are completely alone. Some describe a sense of being watched, a feeling that unseen eyes track every step along the deck or beneath the rails. These sensations are most often reported at night, when the darkness amplifies the isolation and the sounds of the river and the bridge create a heightened awareness of one's surroundings. Local folklore has contributed heavily to the bridge's haunted reputation. Residents share stories of travelers and train workers who encountered ghostly figures pacing the rails, sometimes for several minutes at a time. Some tales speak of glowing lanterns hovering just above the rails, drifting along the walkway and disappearing when approached. Others recount hearing phantom trains, complete with whistles and the rumble of wheels, which fade abruptly as if the past itself is receding. These accounts, passed down through generations, have intertwined with the bridge's history, turning it into both a landmark of industry and a site of persistent mystery. Paranormal enthusiasts frequently visit Crescent River Bridge, armed with cameras, audio recorders, and electromagnetic field detectors. Many report anomalies that defy logical explanation, from shadowy figures caught on film to unexplained lights and faint whispers captured on audio. Even skeptics often leave uneasy, affected by the combination of historical tragedy, isolation, and the bridge's unnerving atmosphere. For them, Crescent River Bridge becomes a space where the past and present converge, where memory, loss, and legend manifest in ways that are both subtle and profound. Despite its eerie reputation, Crescent River Bridge remains a functional piece of infrastructure. Occasional trains still traverse its length, though much of its use has declined over the years. Those who cross it during daylight may notice little more than rusted steel and creaking wood. But come nightfall, the bridge transforms. The flickering lights, pacing figures, and phantom train sounds turn a simple crossing into an encounter with history itself. The structure becomes more than metal and timber. It becomes a conduit for memory, tragedy, and lingering presences. A place where the boundary between the living and the dead feels thin. Crescent River Bridge continues to draw visitors, from locals intrigued by its past to paranormal enthusiasts hoping for first-hand experience of the unexplained. Each encounter, whether glimpsing a shadow along the rails, seeing a lantern drift across the deck, or hearing the rumble of an invisible train, adds to the bridge's enduring legend. It stands not only as a testament to engineering and labor, but as a haunting reminder that some histories linger, visible, audible, and tangible, to anyone willing to notice. In the quiet moments over the river, with the wind rustling through steel and water, Crescent River Bridge reveals itself as more than a bridge. It is a crossing between the present and the echoes of lives long gone. These 25 haunted train bridges across the U.S. remind us that where tracks once carried lives and industry, tragedy and mystery can linger long after the last train has passed. From phantom workers and ghostly passengers to lights and sounds with no source, these bridges are monuments to the past, refusing to rest. Thank you for exploring these chilling crossings with us. Subscribe, like, and click the bell to continue uncovering America's most haunted places, where history and the supernatural meet on the rails of the unknown.